Hey, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Megan,
And I'm Rachel.
and welcome back to yet another installment of Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching. First of all, we just want to say thank you so much for all of the overwhelming support that we have received upon the release of our first two episodes. So, most recent second episode came out just yesterday, prior to when we are recording this. But yeah, we just wanted to really say thank you so much. It has been unexpected, but also expected, I guess. Shout out mom and dad. I hate that you're listening to this, but I love that you're listening to this at the same time. So thank you for your support. Don't feel the need to listen any further, though. It's okay.
But truly, to our community, you guys are incredible, and we're so excited to be back this week and bring you guys all of the exciting things we have planned for the future as well.
Yes, we are, of course, first and foremost, here to continue on the Flip from Blood and Ash journey with A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, Part 1. Fresh and fire, ooh.
Fresh and fire.
Poppy do be fresh and fire a little bit. But yeah, as Rachel said, we want to kind of give you a taste of what future plans we've got rolling around up in the noggin. So Rachel, I don't know if you want to make the, announcement or put up the
Absolutely. So we are opening the doors currently within our From Blood and Ash series. We would like to consult with the romantic experts. So stay tuned for that. And then also moving out of From Blood and Ash, when we finally conclude, we'll be touching on a few movies by Ari Aster. Is that how you say their name?
Oh, Ari Aster.
Ari Aster, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
By Ari Aster, Midsommar and Hereditary. So we're very excited to bundle those as well.
I can't tell you how pumped I am to get into Midsommar.
Oh,
The way this movie just restructured, like not even restructured, that's not the right word, but just like it opened my eyes. And just another movie I could talk about for hours, which is what brings ourselves here, because we have so many things that we could talk about for hours, as we have, seeing as the last episodes are over 2 hours. And we thank you all once again for listening to over 2 hours of our mindless yapping, but it's not even mindless. We put a lot of work into the show. I can't degrade the actual work that we put into this. However, it is just us talking back and forth for 2 hours. So thank you again for that. So yeah, stay tuned for, many, many weeks from now. Once we get through from Blood and Ash, we will be doing a little mini series almost on Midsommar and Hereditary. And I cannot wait for that. As far as today, what are we doing today? Today, we are getting into part 1 of Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. This is the second installment in the From Blood and Ash series. And I can already tell, Rachel, you are just chomping at the bit. How are we feeling about going into this book?
This is hands down my favorite book of the From Blood and Ash series. I was now obviously the first one was amazing, right? It got us into it. But this one, the banter is bantering. They're so ready. So ready.
It so does. I will say this is my first time, I'm sure your first time rereading these.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like reading it for the first time again, oddly enough, just because there's so many, we've gotten so far away from it with how long the series is. So it's been really fun to go back to kind of the basics, if you will.
Really had to reach back in the back of the archives and be like, oh, this happens.
Oh my gosh. Oh, for real. There are some characters in here that we meet that I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget about you? Or, oh my gosh, that's right. This is where you come into play. There's so much that I forgot from this book, and I 100% understand why it is your favorite, because it's got the banter, it's got the sexy, it's got the blood, it's got the battles, it's got the lore. It's just filled with all the goodness that we love about From Blood and Ash.
This one is it's very lore heavy. I think it's safe to say the first 3 books of From Blood and Ash, the lore is very, very expansive because it builds the foundation for the rest of the series. So
absolutely, because not only have we now going into Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, we spent the whole first book with Poppy meeting Hawk, Castile, and, you know, having her walls kind of broken down, figuring out what reality actually is. And so that, of course, will take quite a while. So it only makes sense that these first few books are very heavy in establishing not only what she believes as, you know, being raised essentially by the Ascended, but also what, like, the true reality is. And we will further expand upon that because we don't want to release any spoilers yet on just how much this book is going to expand on everything. Reading what I did in this book, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, we are just 0 to 100. So we're picking up right where we left off. A lot of reveals right before the end. The last line of the first book is essentially, we go to Atlantia to marry, princess. Huh?
Marriage.
Huh? So she's going to get to marry Castile or Hawk. We're going to go, he's fully Castile. He's revealed himself. That's what he's going to go by now. But the thoughts on, you know, fantasy arranged marriages in general, arranged marriages, typically in the fantasy world, they're not going to really shake out to be the greatest. But, like, also in this situation specifically, oh no, I'm forced to marry a hot, kind prince, and he's got a massive dick and he knows how to use it. Give me a break and try paying taxes, Penelope Balfour. Okay? I love it and hate it when characters get so upset over being forced into this marriage with someone that they've fallen in love with already.
Yeah. Like,
and then there also just happened to be the hottest person on the face of the fucking planet with the biggest dick and the greatest lay, and they're just like, oh, God, I have to marry them. It's like,
right.
Yeah, you gotta marry them. Tough shit. Do you want to go back to where you were? Girl, understand how lucky you are right now. Are you kidding? Anyway, she's also half Atlantean. No biggie. No big deal.
Yeah.
There were just layers upon layers upon layers of truths that were revealed and unfolded at the end of this last book. And of course, going into this one, there's totally not more to be figured out. Definitely not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. They're going to get married and she's half Atlantean. End of story.
Without further ado, let us jump right into A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, Part 1. Chapter 1. We open immediately where we left off. Poppy is objecting to marry Castile. You already know our feelings about that. And it's also in a very public manner. They banter back and forth in front of Castile's people. So, like, they are not hidden anymore. They're just wide open. So a man named Lendell, he speaks his mind about, like, he feels it's an insult that Poppy is being brought back to Atlantia, and they are leaving Malik where he is for future torture. Like, bro, I thought we were, like, coming here to take her and make this deal and get Malik and then go home. Why are we just skipping all that other stuff and just going right home? That doesn't make sense. And Landell calls Poppy a bitch, which, fuck right off, first of all. And before we know it, because Castile is Castile, he has him pinned to the wall and tears out this fucker's heart with his bare hands.
Listen.
Woo! We are chapter 1.
If your man does not rip someone's heart out for you, does he even love you?
That's a question that's going to be spinning around in our minds for the rest of our lives. Side note, speaking for myself, bark. So, chapter 2. That's a very quick, like, snip, snap. Okay, Castile has got to put his foot down and be like, no one talks about her that way. And damn if we don't love it.
I did not detest him anymore. Everything, all of the conflicting feelings I had at the end of book 1 were gone at this point. I was like, oh, okay, he can do no wrong.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And immediately jumping into chapter 2, like, this is very speedy in the beginning here. Castile is deadly protective of her, as was just demonstrated. But he also continues to lay on the flattery. So, like, man covered in blood, flirting with me. It triggers something in a good way. He says, there is no side of you that is not as beautiful as the other half. Not a single inch isn't stunning.
Yeah, because that guy, he said Scarface bitch. And I was
right.
And I was like, not even using a demeaning term for a woman. You got to add Scarface on top of it.
Yeah. Because while they obviously don't know, we know how, like, how, it's very self-conscious about her scars, and she's only just getting to a point where she is feeling more free to show them to people and have them not treat her that way. So this was like, what? We wanted to punch him, but Castile beat us to it. So, like, thanks, baby. As Poppy is about to be escorted back to her bedroom/cell, Castile is next to her and stops her because someone's coming. He's like, don't say anything. Someone's coming. Don't make eye contact. Don't look at him. And it's like, okay, weird. Enter Alistair. He's an older looking Atlantean, and by older we mean like middle-aged, so he's probably pushing 500 plus. And he's not Castile's father, but he is absolutely someone of high regard. So he is very top of the food chain level, kind of within Atlantean politics, I would imagine. For further clarification, he is the advisor to the king and queen of Atlantia, and is kind of like an uncle to Castile and Malik. So he's been around since they were born, pretty much. He's been like an uncle to them. And we get further information about the right in this instance because they kind of talk back and forth about it a little bit. And just to give you all further clarification, because the more that we read these books, the more kind of details we get about the right, and the more it seems to shift as to like what exactly is happening. So further updates that we have is that third sons and daughters are given over annually, while second sons and daughters are given between 13 and 18. So that was a differentiator that was not really pointed out in the first book. Because while you read it, you'll notice there's a lot of jumping around between like the third sons and daughters, the second sons and daughters. And I'm like, wait, I thought they were package deal, but they're not. And it's a very interesting kind of schedule the Ascended have them on. But we will, as always, find more about that as we go. And as they walk Poppy back to her room after having this, brief exchange with Alistair, Kieran stops her in the hallway and, he just takes a whiff. Takes a whiff of her. Says that she smells like death.
So nice.
No, thank you. I don't remember buying a death perfume, but
Bath and Body
okay.
Works scent is that?
Let's be honest, I'd still buy it.
Yeah.
They discuss Castile, or Cass, as Kieran continues to call him. And he tells Poppy that Castile will kill as many Landels as he needs to in order to get it through his people's brains that she's not to be touched and they all have to fall in line.
Morally gray king. Morally gray king.
We love him so much. We love a man that will kill for us. Next chapter. Poppy remains locked in her room, and her mind just continues racing over and over all of the information that she has been bombarded with. And honestly, props to her for keeping it straight, because even as I write out these summaries as we go, I can barely keep up with this as we write this out. So, like, the fact that she's just got it all in her memory, I swear, none of these characters are neurodivergent. Can I just say, no, that in and out. I'd be lucky if I would remember someone's name.
Not to mention the amount of trauma they go through, and like trauma shrinks your brain. So like the fact, that they're like, oh yeah, this is the fifth extension cousin, etc. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm glad you're relating.
And it's not even that she's going over, okay, this is the person I just met. She's also in this moment going over all of the stuff that was covered at the end of book 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how she keeps it straight, but props to her. The hurt, though, starts to settle because, at the end of the day, she was betrayed by Castile, and she mourns the loss of Hawk. She was used very blatantly and lied to. And she even starts to question Ian's blood relation to her. Like, is he actually her blood brother?
Mm-hmm.
Because the question of, if Poppy is half Atlantean, that would make Ian half Atlantean, and Atlanteans can't ascend. So how was he taken by the Ascended to go through the Ascension if he was half Atlantean? So there's a lot of points being crossed that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Queen Ileana, who is the Blood Queen, as the Atlanteans know her, according to Castile, she imprisoned him and tortured him for years, him being Castile. And which is very conflicting because the queen was always very kind and gentle to Poppy growing up as she mourned the loss of her parents. So, like, that's also conflicting. So not only has this man lied to you, but now he says that he's been tortured by the woman that took care of her in her, like, most dire time of need. And it's just like, it's so conflicting.
Very like mommy dearest vibes.
Yeah, very much. It's Queen Ileana's got something. Like, there's just all of the mystery. Like, did the queen know that Poppy was half Atlantean? Like, is that why she chose to stay so close to Poppy as she healed from the Craven attack? If the queen knew that she was in the Craven attack, obviously she did. Like, how the Craven work is that Poppy should have turned Craven.
Right.
After being bit, and she didn't. So that's like a bing bing little light bulb. Uh-oh. And Poppy essentially just goes over all of this in her head. She comes to the conclusion that she just straight up needs to make her escape and find Ian. Like, she is, like, he's too kind to be a vampire / Ascended. Yeah, like, the Ascended and vampire, they are feeding off of children. That's what the right supposedly is about. That's what we're, part of what was revealed at the end of the first book is like these children are being taken to be fed off of. No way Ian is doing that. And if in the event she finds him and he is indeed a vampire, she accepts that she will need to end his life if he wishes that. Because while even if he was turned, she knows that Ian is too good of a person to even feed off of people. So he's likely falling into bloodlust. He's not in a good way. So she's got that to think over.
And she also has this really sweet, like, reflective moment of when they were kids and him teaching her how to pick locks. And I thought that was a really interesting, like a really cool memory to be brought up because it goes over how it helped instill patience in her. I can't remember the exact quote, but he does say something along the lines of like, just take a minute. So
yeah,
very scared for him. Very scared for him.
Yeah, the unknowns of it all. And like, we know that they've been writing letters back and forth, but she hasn't heard from him. And we don't know what's going on with Ian, and that's her sibling. She's got to get to him. And so given that Ian taught her how to lockpick, she lockpicks out of her door and escapes through the keep into the forest before she spots a woman tracking her. It's Kieran. And Kieran tells him that she will not be going back to the castle without a fight. And a voice says from behind her, if you're looking for a fight, you'll fight me, princess. She cannot go anywhere without Castile knowing where she is. She cannot move a muscle without him being able to track her down immediately. And just like the way that he makes himself known, he's always got that like sensuality turned up to 11. And it's just, wow, it's beautiful. Given that he introduces himself this way, Poppy and Castile proceed to banter, as they do. But they do it with their words and their weapons. We eat it the fuck up. They are close combat. They are fighting, making witty remarks back and forth to each other. When they get into close combat, they're rolling around. They're throwing punches at each other. Like, it's so violent. It reminds me of Aelin and Rowan, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And just as we think we might be getting what we hope it might be leading to, because there's certain, we know how hot he gets when she fights. Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh, JLA, chapter 4, and we're getting another. Ooh, okay, we're right on track. But Poppy notices that there's mist encroaching. Just before they start to fight the oncoming Craven, because the Craven live in the mist, Castile pulls Poppy in for like a super hot kiss, because why the fuck not? I guess. And they fight the Craven off while having like a Legolas Gimli style kill count competition, but they're doing it sexier. So actually, it's just like the Legolas Gimli competition.
I believe she says to him, "You're insane," and he goes, "And the truth is, you like my brand of insanity."
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. And so they fight off the Craven. They each kill a good handful. They return to the castle. Escorts her back to her cell, and Kieran is waiting back there for him. And he banters with Castile just like Poppy does. So it's like, even though Castile is prince and royalty, he's still got this really cute, like, friendly rapport with Kieran, and it's adorable. I love their back and forth. It's such a cool brotherly, like, bond that they have.
It really, absolutely. This is where I really started connecting to him on a different level of like, okay, he's more than just like dreamy love interest at this point. Like, we're actually starting to get to see his personality.
Right. And also seeing that it's not like he's saying all of these things and he's witty like that with Poppy just to like get in her pants.
Right.
He's like this with everybody.
Right.
So it's kind of, further giving us a taste of what his personality is, like you say. So the two of them leave and lock her in, and she starts to kind of clean up and bathe. And then later on, Poppy senses Castile coming back. And then she has the thought, like, wait, why is he coming back to this room? He should have his own, right? Oh my God, no, wait, this is his room? Girl, you are going back to be married. You have slept with him. You've had sex with him at this point. Of course he's coming back to this room.
We love a one bed at the inn. One bed at the inn.
Oh my God. But it's not even like an inn. It's a keep. And it's like they're stationed there. It's just, oh my God. It's wonderful. Per Poppy fashion, as soon as he enters the room, she throws a knife at his head. And she once again comments on how violent she is in pure Castile fashion. He references the baths also back at his home, because he like thinks about taking a bath, but he's like, it would be too much effort. I don't really want to. I miss the showers that we used to take at home. I miss like the baths that we used to have. And she's like, a what now? We have confirmation of indoor plumbing. Send me to Atlantia. Like, I love my SJM. I love Prithian. I love, Throne of Glass and Terracin. None of them have running water. Let me tell you that. Give me the indoor plumbing. I don't have to throw my shit out of a bucket. Wonderful. Send me there. I want to be there. He immediately starts to strip in front of her in preparation to bathe himself. And we get a little sneaky peek at his, like, tight, muscled body. He's got a smooth booty, and, like, just how man's butts are when they're, like, small and smooth and cute, and love it. And it's, like, it's so great. I honestly wish that this was a visual medium, like the book. I have that thing where I can't really fully picture things in my brain. So as much as I want to picture what this man looks like, I just have to constantly go back to fan art, because... Oh. Oh. Just like, I am a sucker for description of a back, of shoulders and the back. I'm dead.
Yeah.
So this peak that we get, this was written for me. Thank you, JLA. I appreciate this. And we get a world building moment out of this. So, like, all of Atlantia has electricity. Electricity isn't news to Poppy, but it's something that's very restricted in Solus. So only some homes really have electricity, and it's usually the extremely wealthy. And this makes people fight against each other to get these kind of amenities isn't really the right word, but these things that should be commonplace, you know, it makes people fight against each other rather than the ones who actually hold the power and are to blame for why the power is siphoned off only for the wealthy. It's the ascended. And we literally can't escape capitalism, even in fantasy books.
We can't.
Wow, I wonder why that is. It's almost like books have always been political. Thank you. So the truth of the land of Atlantia is they once cultivated the land from the Stroud Sea all the way past the Skotos Mountains. And this land is what the Ascended now rule over. So they straight up just took their land. Wow, that sounds familiar. And when the Atlanteans were run out after the War of Two Kings, they had very little land still to use, and they are running out of space. So Atlantia is simply not big enough to house all these people. And we're about to actually learn the origin of the name Hawk. So in Atlantia, you are given a second name, which is one that only your closest loved ones know and use, and it's typically chosen by the mother. And his mother chose his name to be Hawkthorn. So his actual real full name is Castile Hawkthorn Denier. Damn, what a name. What a name, what a male. So this is why he went by Hawk. So for Poppy to be calling him Hawk, like only his mother and brother ever knew of him and called him by Hawk until Poppy. Like, so even when he was interacting with all those other people, it's like, this is where I kind of get tripped up a little bit, because while I 100% understand that, and I love that lore, he was going by Hawk. Granted, it was like undercover, but he was going by that, and all of these people were calling him that. So
yeah, that's how Victor knew him. It was Hawk Flynn.
Right.
All those girls.
Yeah,
Hawk
so
Flynn.
it's like they knew his name, but they didn't know the deeper meaning behind why he was called that. So I think by Poppy now learning this piece of information, it kind of separates the two, where it's like, okay, they knew Hawk as the double agent. She knows Hawk as like Castile, the prince, and then this kind of coveted nickname.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the differentiator I came across, but I was like, but he went by that the whole first book by like everybody. They just didn't really know, you know? In the next chapter, Poppy and Castile mix banter with conversation, particularly about his responsibility in Victor's death during that attack on the right. And he actually does take that responsibility. He says, "I didn't kill them, but you were right. Those who supported me acted on their own, but they did so by my words, by my lead. So their blood is on my hands. I should have taken ownership of that from the first moment." Claps for Cass. Good boy. Good boy. They also discuss the previous maiden, because she was also half Atlantean. So, like, did she have gifts like Poppy? She was likely used in the same manner that the Ascended planned to use Poppy for, to feed Malik. So instead of it being that Poppy was going to, like, take over to help turn people, she was just going to be used as a blood bag to feed the full-blooded Atlantean they already had in their grasp. So it's, like, so fucking sad. But it just goes back to, yeah, like, this previous maiden who was exiled, who no one speaks her name. Like, we at least know she was half Atlantean, but, like, not much else. And Atlanteans can only survive off Atlantean blood. So, like I said, the reason that they wanted to use Poppy was not to turn people, but to feed the full-blooded Atlantean they had. And if they're starved for blood, Atlanteans actually can turn into something not entirely human. They kind of go beast mode, and it's dangerous. Like, they lose... It's like their own version of bloodlust, pretty much. But it's on a deeper level where, like, their brain starts to shut down. They remember they don't remember who they are anymore. It's very, very dark. And going back to the sleazy Ascended, why were they waiting all this time to ascend Poppy? Like, is it because of the culling? You would be correct. It is because of the culling. Because when Atlanteans turn 19, as you remember, Poppy is 18, they go through the culling, which is a stage of maturity, and they start to gain their powers. So Castiel's power that he gained when he went through the culling was his compulsion. So he can make people do his bidding, but he does not like to use it. So he says, I may be a monster, but I'm not that kind of monster. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, you got your own, boundaries with your powers. We like to see it. And Poppy remembers that she can't read ascended emotions, and Castiel can't use compulsion on them. So that's something to think about. Like, why is that? We don't really know yet. And so due to Poppy going through the culling, there's no telling what's going to happen, given that she is only half Atlantean. Like, will she be given more powers? Is she going to change otherwise? Like, we don't really know. Because only full-blooded Atlanteans have what we kind of think of as immortality. And anyone with any mortal blood in them is forbidden from being ascended due to the risk of becoming a vampire and not full Atlantean. So that's the risk, and that's why Poppy is not going to be ascended. Like, that's why she was never going to be ascended when they took her. Because they just simply don't know what would happen to her. And that also, more fear for Ian. Like, oh no, that could have gone really bad then if they are actually brother and sister. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I do love also in this whole conversation where they're covering the culling and Poppy says, I am not a bottle of wine. I thought that was such a good, quote and display of her, the wheels finally turning. Like, I think she's finally at the point where she's like, okay, maybe I do need to listen to him. Not fully trusting yet. Obviously, we're in chapter 6. She's like, listen, this all just happened, but I am not a bottle of wine. I feel like that was such a turning point for her and how she viewed her duty.
Yeah, because we know that obviously in the last book, she kind of had already decided that she wasn't going to be going back to being the maiden, all of that, before the betrayal of Castiel. But yeah, it's nice to see that there is still that flicker. Like, okay, just because he's betrayed you and she's not able to run off into the sunset with Hawk, that doesn't mean that she still has to go back either. Yeah. Like, she's still very much like, they're not going to use me that way.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's like, hell yeah, girl. Put your foot down. And Poppy starts to get aggravated with Castiel because he starts to give her shit about running to the capital. Like, girl, what were you thinking going out into the forest? You knew the Craven were out there. She had 0 provisions on her. So, no sack with any food, no water, not the appropriate clothing.
She doesn't even know how to ride a horse.
Seriously, she was just going to go walk off into the forest.
We need to get you in Barbie Pony Club, girl. Start somewhere.
Oh, yes. Poppy Pony Club. She needs it. So as he starts to kind of lay into her about all of this, she goes off on him. Yeah, I might have run off, but also, why would I stay with you anyway? You're just planning to use me and then bring me back to the Ascended anyway. So what's the harm of me trying to escape? If I'm captured by the Ascended, I go back to them regardless. It's the same ending for her, no matter what. She brings up the marriage, and he takes that as his cue to turn up his tease factor here. As soon as he gets a little crumble of something that she says that talks about any kind of attraction or his smirking or his attitude or the marriage or anything, he just immediately launches. He's like, oh, okay, there's my in. He pushes her buttons, telling her oh, my mother's gonna love you. She'll be amused by Poppy's attempts to maim and stab him. That's a different kind of mother-in-law than I've ever thought of meeting.
He is such a shit in this part. He's such a shit, but I love him.
He really is. We seriously love so much how he teases her in just the right way that it rides the line of being a jackass, but he's also very lovable.
Yeah.
And we know that Poppy knows that he's just doing that for the amusement. Like, he's not doing this to hurt her feelings or to actually make her hate him. Like,
it's a genuine like innocence of teasing.
Yeah, exactly. Castile starts getting into the bed and Poppy's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, this is my bed chamber though. What a coincidence. Are we surprised? No, not at all. And more banter starts about, he's got to sleep on the floor. And he's like, this is my room. I'm not sleeping on the floor. And, Poppy, he's like, why wouldn't you want me to sleep in the bed? Are you trying to do something inappropriate? And she's like, no. So he's like, it's so weird. He's playing this like very light gaslighty kind of deal where he's trying to put these thoughts in her head when she's just like, I was not going there, actually. Don't do that. But at least it's in like, it's a fun way. He's not putting thoughts in her head of like negativity. It's just to have fun. So that's where we're like, oh, Castile. So Poppy thinks, to some, probably not most in the kingdom, sleeping beside someone didn't mean much of anything. But to me, it was as life-altering as holding hands, being able to openly touch each other and sharing dinner with someone, things other people often took for granted. And if that doesn't just get you in the heart.
Yeah. That is such, like, I could go on a whole separate tangent about that, but I think that is such a beautiful note that JLA made to include in this, and that's why these books are so good. Is she like translates such relatable experiences and feelings of isolation and does it so well. Because I sobbed the first time I read that.
Oh, it's incredibly touching.
Yeah.
It's like, while it's, no biggie, whatever. Like, speaking for myself, I've been with my husband for 7 years. Sleeping in the same bed is just kind of, that's habit, but of course you get to that first time of doing any of those things with anybody. It is very life altering.
Yeah.
So I like that we get to kind of peek into Poppy's head there for that, just to see how much of a step it is for her that it might not necessarily read for him. And Castile offers his lips to be on any piece of her. She need only ask. And he says, do you want to take it? Say it.
And my willingness to comply extends to my hands, my fingers, and my cock. And with that, the banter ensues. I have it.
Oh, go off. Go, do it.
Castile asks if it would be impossible, but Poppy said, nothing is impossible. Poppy retorts with, I want to stab you in the heart right now. And then shifting on the bed as she turns over, Castile asks, you okay over there? And Poppy goes, shut up. That whole interaction of him offering his hands, his fingers, his cock.
Yeah. And she just turns over in bed like, hey, go away.
Shut.
I'm no shut.
The banter is bantering, guys. The banter is bantering.
It is. That could be the slogan of this series, to be quite honest. And before they finally do stop that bantering and try to go to sleep, Poppy asks her why he told her his middle name. And his answer is because you needed to know that not everything was a lie. Oh, and that keeps coming up. Like, he said that before they went all the way in book 1. He's like, remember this moment. Like, this is real. Like, he's trying to set up these things of like, in this moment, it is real. Like, and he's still trying to reinforce that as they go and as she discovers more of these things. It's just like, it wasn't not all of it was a lie, but like a lot of it was. So like, I'm sorry. And it's like, we know, but like you done fucked up. You done fucked up, Aaron.
It's also the last thing I want to comment on why I think his teasing, why we love it so much, because he's not like overly compensating to try to earn her trust. And I love that. I love that. Like, ACOTAR spoilers, the first one with Tamlin, like how he was trying so hard with Feyre.
Mm.
And I think that's why I hated him so much. I was like, you're gross. But with Castile, he's just like, I'm here and I'm going to earn your trust, but not like forcing her. So
Absolutely. No, that's exactly right. And I love that comparison too, because like Tamlin and he would force it on her versus Castile being like, these are the truths of things. That it is what it is. I understand you're upset. I just need you to know that this was what was legit. And then go from there. He's not overcompensating. You got it exactly nail on the head. We start into chapter 7, and we're actually inside of a dream that Poppy's having. And it's her memories of the night of the Craven attack when her parents were killed. So she remembers a detail of a man's voice that she doesn't recognize approaching her after she is torn from her mother. And right after something was said between her mother and this mystery man. So like we're getting little breadcrumbs and piecing together these nightmares more and more. And he says, "What a pretty little flower. What a pretty poppy. Pick it and watch it bleed. Not so pretty any longer."
nursery rhyme from hell. It's a nursery rhyme from hell.
Because it gives me the chills. Like,
haunting.
It's, incredibly haunting. And so now we understand why she's waking from these nightmares screaming from her lungs, because that's fucking terrifying. If someone was saying that to me in my dreams, once again, this is why I smoke before I go to bed, so that I don't dream, because I don't want this shit popping up. Because, oh my God.
And listen, we're both like huge horror fans. Something, and maybe it's like from listening, because if you listen to the audible of this book, and you ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, just the delivery that the narrator gives is just so haunting. Especially because you consider that she's 6 years old at that time.
Imagine so you're 8 years old. You're 8 years old.
31 grown-ass woman, and I'm terrified of this. Like, oh my God. And it's a mystery person. She doesn't even know who this person is. So, yeah, we understand why she's got these screaming nightmares. And so she wakes up screaming. But Castile is actually there to soothe her. And he takes that opportunity to open up to her about his time that he spent captured by the Ascended. Which I was like, interesting segue, but we're trauma sharing here. Okay. So sometimes the Ascended would kill the people that they brought to him to feed from, but other times it was he himself that would commit the murder and tear into them himself. So that's really fucking tragic. They would even go as far as to leave the bodies to pile up in the cell that he was held in. So, like, to the point that they would decay into bones. Like, oh my God, can we literally hate these monsters any more than we already do? The Ascended are just page by page getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's so vile. And he understands her nightmares and tells her, like, don't apologize for, like, waking me up, because I don't know about you, me and my husband apologize to each other for waking each other up for whatever reason. And it's like, yeah, no, don't, you're having a nightmare. You're good. Are you okay? Like, that's his main priority. He's like, you do not need to apologize. He says, "I know all about how the past doesn't remain where it should be, how it likes to pay visits when you're at your weakest. There is never a need to apologize, nor should you ever feel shame." And as someone who has CPTSD, fucking felt, because you never know when something's going to just flip a switch in your brain and you are back in a memory or in a headspace where it's a traumatic time and you're not yourself, and it's awful. And he understands that about her. He's like, hey, I've been through it too. I get it. And it's that hit me. That part hit me really, really hard.
The level of validation. It's okay. Like, you don't have to hide behind it and not acknowledge it. Like, you're allowed to feel what you're feeling.
Exactly. And it's heartwarming to hear that, because that's another area of kindness that she was never shown. She's always woken up from these nightmares just screaming bloody murder and is alone in her room, and that's why she would go out into the night. So yeah, it's just a really, really nice, heartfelt moment between the two of them that you can tell he's being legitimate with her. It's not a lie. And they wake up the next morning, and their next destination is going to be Spessa's End. So they are on the road again. And Castile offers to help Poppy back to sleep. Sorry, I misspoke there. It is not the next day yet. He's just saying that their next destination is going to be Spessa's End. They're not necessarily leaving tomorrow, but that's where they're going to be heading when they leave New Haven. So Castile offers to help Poppy back to sleep. Because she must remember how good he is at that, because like we sure fucking do.
That's right.
She does decline, and it's like, boo. But to each their own. If you don't want to get fingered to sleep, you don't have to. He continues poking fun at her, and yet again bringing up the diary and the, quote, throbbing cocks within.
It's our band name. No, I'm just kidding.
Incredible. So she starts asking herself, like, is he aroused right now? Like, simply because he's lying in bed next to her? Was that all it takes? And, newsflash, yes, Poppy, that is indeed sometimes all it takes. Welcome to the world of sleeping with men.
The power of being a woman.
That's where, absolutely. Fucking hell right. Chapter 8 opens, and the next day, Poppy's been locked up alone the whole day. She's going pretty stir-crazy, and she starts protesting against Delano outside of her door, and they also have their own kind of little back-and-forth banter here. We can't read it word for word, but it's a fun little moment. And all of a sudden, though, he just bursts in, asking why she was yelling. And he's like, what are you yelling about? What's wrong? Who's in here? What's going on? And she's like, unless you just heard me internally screaming, no, I did not call for you. And he says, like, well, it sounded like you were calling me for help, but that's weird. Must have been the wind. And none of these moments ever means more than what they are. Right? Right. Totally. Poppy falls back asleep and wakes to Kieran waiting for her to escort her to dinner. And, like, I love that she's able to nap during the day, but I'm really sad that it's only because she's so bored. Because I can't nap, personally. Yeah. So all of these naps that she's taking during the day, I'm very envious. Like, I miss being able to nap. And on their way to dinner, the two of them have a little back and forth, their own version of banter. So we could tell, like, Castile has formed his own little groupie situation, and they all kind of talk to each other back and forth like this. Because Castile's very much like, Kieran is very much like Castile in that way, where he's not afraid to play with his words a little bit. Poppy asks if he has ever seen her dagger, because, you know, like, the one that's made out of wolven bone could be a bit offensive to him. Asking a wolven about it, treading on some unknown territory here. But Kieran does tell her that unless she fashioned that hilt herself, she has nothing to feel guilty for. She was simply gifted this knife. It's clearly old, and obviously she did not go out and kill the wolven that it belongs to. So it's oh, thanks.
Yeah. I was going to say, I also think it's worth pointing out that this relationship that is developing between Poppy and Kieran is her very first, like, platonic friendship. Now she had Rylan, but this is different. Rylan was like her assigned guard, and they, you know, he didn't kidnap her and bring her and go through everything that she's gone through with Kieran. But this interaction with them, to me, I just absolutely loved, because we're starting to see her, like, be a typical elder teenager and have, like, friendships. So I just thought that was so sweet.
Yeah, their relationship is building up to be a really nice one. I like how you describe that. It's her first, like, platonic relationship with, like, someone of the opposite sex. Someone.
And
bullshitting, yeah.
Bullshitting. This is also very random. I just want to insert the whole meat knife. I know that we did not bring it up at the beginning. She got the meat knife off of the table at the beginning, and she does open this chapter with saying, I'm going to shove this stupid meat knife so far into his chest he's going to have to dig it out. I'm sorry, guys. This is like, this and the diary are it for me, this book. All right, continue on.
No, it's so true, because, yeah, they took her bloodstone dagger. She doesn't know where it is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's just got this little steak knife and just
meat knife.
I for some reason, it just popped into my mind of the vine. Don't test me, bitch. Just her holding her little steak knife. I know I won't hesitate, bitch. That's Poppy. That's Poppy at the beginning of this book. Because, yeah, a steak knife's not going to kill literally any of them. It's just going to be an inconvenience. And she knows that. She's like, yeah, I'll make it an inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
And Poppy asks Kieran about Atlantean's eye color. She's been, in addition to her absorbing all this information, she's also been very, very attentive to a ton of details in her environment, which is like, I wish we had time to go over it, but it's astonishing just how much she takes in.
Mm-hmm.
So being the eye collar, one of the many questions that she's going to continue to ask him, because lore alert on Atlanteans, subsection, Poppy asks so many goddamn questions, and that is not going to change.
So many.
This girl does not know where to stop. And I am 100% certain this is why these recaps are so long, because this girl and it's a very interesting way of JLA giving us a way of finding out more about their world. It's like, oh, well, instead of finding all these convoluted ways to like weave them into the story, I'm just going to have her ask.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, mind blowing.
She's like a real life Little Mermaid. I want to know what the people know.
It is. That's 100% it. So
Magic.
yeah, the eye color is just the first of many, and that's one thing that Kieran and her will continue to banter about, is just how many questions that she loves to ask people. So what we find out is most Atlanteans have some shade of gold in their eyes, but only those of the elemental bloodline have pure golden eyes. So not all Atlanteans are the same. We're going to be focusing in on the elemental Atlanteans, because that's what Castile is. They are by pure Atlantean blood and can be traced back to the earliest known Atlanteans. So the elementals are not descendants by blood, but by creation, which is something I was not 100% certain how that worked, but we're going to find out more about that. So by creation, they mean created by these deities, which are children of the gods. So deities and their bloodlines no longer exist, though. If they did, they would claim the throne, and Castile would not be prince. And Castile is of the elemental line. So it's very confusing.
It's one big fucked up family tree. That's what it is.
Great description. No notes. Atlantia is home to others as well, such as Wolven, but there are also mortals there. So they're not all Atlantean or Wolven. The mortals that live there are within the first or second generation of having Atlantean and mortal parents. So the half Atlanteans. The reason that it's only first or second generation that live there is because third or more kind of descended from Atlantean parents. They barely carry any Atlantean blood, so by that means they're not really like, I don't think it's not that they're not welcome in Atlantia, but they can't find it, essentially, because it's hidden, remember?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where the line is drawn with that. Kieran says, those of the elemental line can go long periods without food, but doing so requires them to take blood more often. Vampiries can eat, but they don't need to. So, like food, the regular food that you and I would eat does nothing to satiate their bloodlust. They need to feed off of blood in order to stave that off. but they don't absolutely need to, whereas Atlanteans have to eat, but they can go long periods. So it's just, if the longer they go, the more they will need to consume at that point, essentially. And half Atlanteans have the hazel with more gold in them, as far as in their eyes, which makes Poppy question, well, why are her eyes green? Because, like, neither of her parents, like, why would she have green eyes if she was of Atlantean descent?
Right.
And that being said, Kieran poses the question, well, maybe your memory of your parents' eye colors is faulty, or maybe they weren't your biological parents, which it's like, youch. That's a hard truth. Yeah. Like, Kieran pulls no punches. He's like, oh yeah, well, it's either like maybe you just have a bad memory, or, you know, your parents weren't your parents. And it's like, well, shit, dude, give us a warning. Oh my God. And just as, like, a little aside, there is another line of Atlanteans called the Changelings, and they can change their forms like Wolven. And we're just going to leave that at that, because it's a whole lot more detail that we do not have time to go into right now. Alistair and Poppy officially meet, like, name to name, along with Emil. And they refer to the royals that Poppy has always known as the Blood Crown, which it's like, it's kind of badass. I know they're the bad guys, but, like, Blood Crown, that sounds really fucking cool.
Badass. Yeah.
And Alistair is clearly an old Wolven. She can tell by the blue eyes. But how old, we do not know yet. Arriving in the Great Hall, Castile has ordered the bodies removed from the walls. So as she was kind of being escorted down, she's kind of bracing to see and smell, honestly, all of these bodies. But Castile ordered them all removed. So it's like, she didn't like it, so we had them taken down. That's nice. Redecorated.
What a nice gift.
I know, yeah. Little redecorating, you know? The dissenters that are staying in New Haven are planning to move on to Atlantia eventually. And Poppy and Kieran kind of get into their own banter again. Poppy continues asking question after question after question, as well as questioning her past, because she can't remember being referred to as the Maiden before her parents died. So is it possible that the Queen knew of who she was prior to her parents dying? And as we kind of stated earlier, surviving the Craven bite would have been a dead giveaway that she is not mortal. So there's that to consider as well. Like, her parents clearly wanted to leave Solus to find a quieter life, as they told her. But, like, what if they were actually leaving to save her and save Ian from the Ascended? It's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, secret mission. Very Spy Kids. I don't know why that immediately jumped into my head. I just think of Antonio Banderas and Carlo Gugino in that hot-ass wedding scene, and they go and they took off, and I'm just like, oh, were her parents, like, secret spies?
Like, the Ascended could be the Thum Thumbs, you know?
Oh my God. Yes, they're stupid like the Thum Thumbs. We wish they were stupid. And all of these thoughts just lead to more questions about her eyes, because, like we said, they're green, unlike Atlanteans, but not all Atlanteans have gold eyes. So it is possible, though, that she is descended from a bloodline that has presumed to have been died off. If that makes any sense whatsoever in the words that just came out of my fucking mouth. Like, so, you know, oh, you might be Atlantean, but you might not be elemental Atlantean. So, like, there's other forms. Like, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Like, oh, you're Atlantean, gold eyes, you know?
Right.
And starting chapter 9, Poppy recalls the woman from the Red Pearl, for some reason, because she had told Poppy, you are like a second daughter, but not in the way you intend. It's like, what does that mean? I wish we could go back and find this woman and just shake her and just be like, what did you mean? Tell us what you mean. In the midst of trying to unravel whatever the fuck that means, enter Castile. He is looking so fine because he's not like road bound Castile. Now he's like princely looking and just
This
Just
description,
gorgeous.
yes, the description with the fur and the swords. Oh,
Very
Game of Thrones.
yes, I was just thinking of Ned Stark.
Yes. Like in all his glory, just walking in like he is standing on business 10 toes fucking deep.
Yep. And because looking upon that, who wouldn't get horny as hell? So, but unfortunately, this confirms something that both Poppy and we have feared. Castile can indeed smell her arousal, because for some reason, whenever someone's fae or fantasy or any kind of woven just across the board with fantasy, they can all smell when a girl gets wet. And
God.
I am mortified for her. Like,
I am too.
It's business. This is one of the good things it is of like, well, not one of the, it's one of the many great things about being a woman is that we're not like people with penises where when they get hot and bothered, you can see the erection. When people with vaginas get hot, we just get kind of like heated and be like, ooh, that's hot. You don't know actually what's going on until you touch it. Not in this case.
And she goes, I wish you'd stop saying that word, arousal. I'm so glad that we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So that's been confirmed. That's great. And per usual, they begin their banter. And I don't think they know how to talk without it, honestly. Like, there is no conversation that the two of them have that does not include them bickering or bantering back and forth at some point in the conversation. And it's hilarious because Kieran also joins in. He joins in, so now it's like a little three-way banter conversation going on. And we're just like, we're all kicking our little feet because it's just so cute to see her like conversing with people like this. It's adorable.
She says to Castile, because he makes a comment about liking her feisty or something, and she goes, I don't care what you like, and I also can't believe you're seriously asking why I would loathe you. Do you have memory problems? Like, girl.
There's the flinging the insults at each other one after the other. It's fantastic. And Castile tells Poppy to come with him. And as they walk away, she flips off Kieran behind his back.
Gives him a vulgar gesture.
We got a vulgar gesture, everybody.
Yes.
It's like the two of them give off like siblings fighting energy. Not that they give like, not that their relationship is sibling like, but just the energy between the two of them.
Yes.
It's
the one sentence, I gave Kieran the middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And thank you, JLA, for we love you, SJM. We love you.
We love you.
You got me back into reading as an adult.
Yes.
All the love. The vulgar gesture bit. Specify.
Top tier.
Specify your vulgar gestures. Flipping off. Thank you very, very, very much. It was great to get that description. I'm like, oh, we know what she did. Hooray! Castile takes her out of the castle and is leading her into the woods. And it's just like, I thought we weren't supposed to go in the woods. What's happening? We're getting mixed signals here. But instead of taking her to like the dangerous parts, he's led her to a small covered hole in the ground. It's kind of like a bunker where if we didn't already know who Castile was for most part at this point, the flags would have been going the fuck off. This part reminds me of, oh crap, what's that movie that was based off a book and I sob every time I watch it? With Stanley Tucci, and he's a weird mustachioed murderer. And oh crap, it's gonna come to me later.
Yeah,
but it's from the girl's point of view, and she's taken out and she's killed.
The Lovely Bones.
Thank you, Lovely Bones. Lovely Bones. Yes. The setup of like walking out to like a hole in the ground. I was like, wait, girl, no, run.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
That movie is exceptional.
I know.
I fucking love that movie. I don't typically like Mark Wahlberg because why would you? He's not a great actor. What, ma'am? No. Us? No. Like, what are you doing? But this movie? Oh my god. Holy shit, it gets me every time. I sob. Back to bases though. And as they kind of get to this bunker, not in the creepy way, Castile asks her about Alistair and talks about how he, grew up with him as another parent. So uncle, like, as we've said before. And he's actually the one that would usually say yes when his parents would say no. So if anyone's ever had that kind of situation where you're asking like a parent, grandparent, guardian, be like, can I do this? And they're like, no. Or go ask so-and-so. You're like, oh, good. I wanted you to say that anyway because I know they're going to say yes. And so we get a little bit more background as far as what their relationship's been like. And they enter the hole in the ground, and Castile grabs her hand and leads Poppy into a massive chamber. And so it's like super high ceilings. It's been carved out of the ground beneath them. And this chamber is used to mourn loved ones who have been taken by the Ascended. So taken, meaning they don't know if these people are alive, if they've turned craven, if they are being held prisoner. We don't know. There's thousands and thousands of names that have been carved into the rocks here. There are some with death dates, and others that do not have them because, like we just said, their fates are unknown. And that's really fucking sad. So this is a really heavy, place of mourning, place of worship isn't necessarily the right word, but it's more, mourning, a silent place where people can go to reflect on those they love who have been lost. And so Castile, after kind of being there and taking in the site and kind of giving Poppy a chance to see more of it's not really an Atlantean custom, but it gives her another opportunity, kind of a step into what their marriage is going to be. Because he's like, hey, these are the sacred places for Atlanteans. It's important for you to know what these are, just flat out what they are, but also because she's kind of in a similar situation with Ian, where she doesn't know if he's alive or dead. He's just simply been taken. Not that she carves his name in, but it is a really touching moment between the two of them. It's really, really deep. It's allowing them to connect on a deeper level. After they see that place, Castile leads Poppy back to their room, and she mentions that Ian told her the story of the 3 little pigs. So is this universe canon with our own? Is right. Castile out there somewhere? Right. That threw me. She's like, oh, Ian told me the story about a wolf that came upon 3 pigs of different houses. And I'm like, what? The 3 little pigs? Okay. And we do also need to take a moment and shout out this quote because it is just the most pure toe curling as romantasy authors can really get. I don't know if you would like to say this.
I will gladly say it. I will gladly say it. You're beautiful when you're quiet and somber, but when you laugh, you rival the sunrise over the Skotos Mountains. And I believe in Kindle that has somewhere between 15 and 20,000 highlights.
I don't doubt it. I highlighted it in red on our recap script.
It is just so good.
And it's also just he's describing her laugh, and it's just, there's something else to that, especially where laughter is, of course, you would hope the majority of the time it's very joyous and bright and happy, but it's also like, it's not something that you just look at a person and you compliment their laugh. Like you can only, it's not something that you see. It's something that you hear. It's something that you take in and like, yeah, it's a part of you. That's physically expressing yourself. And it's just so adorable to see him complimenting that, because also she doesn't laugh often. So it's, it's even more important. It's like, he just loves when she laughs, and it's so cute.
I wanted to add in really quick, the whole scene with the tomb when he led her there, or the crypt, when he led her there and explained to her what it was, because she had made a comment that he was no better than the Ascended, right? So him bringing her to the crypt, he said, I want to show you I'm nothing like the Ascended. That moment for me, I was like, oh, I was locked into him at that point. I was like, he is, I'm sold. So that quote with the Skotos Mountains, I was like, So good. We can carry on. I just had to express that.
I'm glad you did. So even after all of this, Poppy is still convinced that this is all some ploy to get her to cooperate. After all, she's just a pawn that's going to be used for a prisoner's exchange. Or is she?
Mm-hmm.
Castile says they must marry, quote, "It's the only way I can get what I want and ensure you stay alive, hopefully so you can live a long, free life." Huh. So that goes against all of his initial plans.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep reading and find out. Next chapter, Castile explains that the Atlanteans are running out of resources and land, but they do still have some time, and Poppy's thoughts start to drift over to Tawny and thinking about, what she's doing, if she's all right, and the question of their marriage also comes up again. And he says that there are still many, many people who wish her harm, especially if they are traveling to be around more Atlanteans. So the danger that she's in now is only going to exponentially increase once they actually get into Atlantia. Because right now they're really just around dissenters and some Atlanteans. They're not around the full, citizens yet. They're not in the heart of everything. So marrying her would prove her to have Atlantean blood and solidify her safety. So that's kind of what his plan is here. So it's another one of those plans where it's like, I'm not going to let you run away and hurt yourself, but I'm not going to hurt you either. I'm not going to let anyone else hurt you, but you can't hurt yourself. It's very mixed feelings here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Castile's father, the king, wants to start a war with the Ascended to take back their lands, but Castile worries for all of the mortals that are going to get caught in the crossfire. Because in any war, there's always innocent life lost. And the Atlantean numbers have only grown over the years since the last war ended. So quite, contrary to what the Ascended believe, the Atlanteans are actually quite strong and have a lot of numbers instead of being dwindling on the edge of extinction. Poppy is essentially the glue that is keeping all of the Ascended's lies in place. So by Castile marrying Poppy, it will show the people of Solus that Atlanteans can't turn mortals into Craven, because their whole thing is that all you have to do is get kissed by an Atlantean and you'll get turned into a Craven. Mm-hmm. It's like they're that superstitious about it. Mm-hmm. So if Poppy was like, "Oh, actually I married one," they'd be like, "How are you able to marry him, kiss him, fuck him? What? Yeah. And you're not Craven?" And it will also prove that the gods approved of their union by not turning her Craven as well. So it's this fun little mind game that they're going to try to play with the people of Solus by doing this marriage. And by Poppy marrying Castile, they then show off in front of the people of Solus, which makes the people question the Ascended as to why she's not turning. Why are they a blessed union? And then the people will seek vengeance on the Ascended. So it's kind of this long-winded way of getting the people to, flip the script and start pointing their anger back at the Ascended, who are upholding all of these awful, traditions and not spreading the wealth and not treating people fairly. Almost like the 1%. Once married, Poppy will be Castile's way into the temples to find Malik. So he would try to negotiate a trade, as well as to split up the land, but at the end of it all, he's not letting the Blood Crown live. And it's like, we would hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you. He wants the Vampire also to end the right, end the killing. You don't need to feed at this level or at all, so stop. They can also feed without killing. So that's the other thing. Even if they want to keep feeding off blood, they don't have to kill the people they're feeding off of. And also, the Ascended have a habit of making their bites very painful and not pleasurable. They have that option to make it pleasurable. They choose not to. Essentially, Castile will give them the option, if you all want to live, you got to control your shit. You have to control your bloodlust and stop murdering people en masse. And after all of that's done, Poppy will be free to do whatever she wishes, even if she would like a divorce. Which, like, no.
Yeah, the fact that that is even offered to her, like,
yeah,
he's not being like super controlling and not even get the. I mean, what?
yeah, it's such a blatant, like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, business. This is a business agreement, and once the business agreement is done, I will let you out of your contract.
Because in the
Essentially,
back of our minds, we're still questioning him the entire time. You know, he's being sweet and earning her trust, and we're like, I don't buy it because I've read a lot of books. Don't trust you. So the fact that line offering her an out, you're like, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And their marriage wouldn't be real. Sure. Okay. So the deal is struck. Poppy will agree to play fiancé with Castile to help him free his brother if Castile helps her find Ian. So they have that trade-off as well. Mm-hmm. And before the conversation comes to a close, Poppy comments on how she wants a large diamond. And Castile promises to get her a diamond so big it enters the room before she does.
That's right.
Oh, we respect a woman who knows what she wants and a man who wants to give it to her.
Hell yeah. Oh my God. Yes. This moment, she's like, I know what I want. Like, girl,
yeah.
Such a great development.
It's funny. She says it like offhand too. She's like, if you're going to force me into this marriage, I need a real big ring. And he's like, all right.
Like, for someone that was held under such tight restrictions, she sure is quick with it. She sure
really is.
Yeah.
She really is. Opening up the next chapter, it is the next day, and Kieran has come to escort Poppy to breakfast. They sit down, and shortly after, Castile enters the hall with Alistair, and they are officially on prove we're really in love duty. Alistair will be the hardest to convince. So, like, I got flashbacks of, like, he's like the President Snow in the Katniss and Peeta of Catching Fire. Like, oh, okay, you guys got to convince me that this love is actually real if you're going to try to get something from me.
I love that comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt very, very much like that.
Yeah.
And Kieran confirms with Poppy that elemental Atlanteans share bonds with Wolven. Bonds that are there since birth. And so Kieran is bonded to Castile, which is why they have such an intense, like, bond and great relationship with each other. Castile brings her over to where he's sitting, and he's got, like, that look of challenge in his eyes that we love to see glinting there. Poppy looks around. She's like, where am I supposed to sit? Before she could process that, he just tugs her on down, and he's her seat. Unfortunately, not his face, but we'll take it for now. We'll take the lap. It's fine.
He does make this comment to Alistair. He says, she is not the maiden. Not anymore.
Tell it to him. Tense conversation ensues when Alistair starts questioning just how the people of Solis could go on believing the Ascended's lies for so long. Like, yeah, right, they're totally not innocent in this. They're giving up their own children to this. Like, no, what do you mean that, like, of course they know the Ascended are who they say who they are. And Poppy's like, actually no. She was one of them, and she holds her ground. She's like, step off. You don't know. Like, we were raised to believe this. And Alistair backs off, and he says, I like her.
Yeah.
It's like, damn straight you like her. Shut your fucking mouth.
That's right.
Like, I just love that moment where, because, yeah, like, all these, like, outsiders, essentially, the Atlanteans, like, they don't know what it's like to grow up in this place where literally everything around you has been a lie your whole existence.
Oh yeah, they all casted very harsh judgment on her, which, looking at the war that has been going on between them and this fight for territory and everything else, is understandable, but it's like they didn't even give her a chance. So finally she's like, I'm gonna stand up for myself.
Yeah, exactly. Herself and her people. Or not her people, but, like, yeah, the people of Solis being like, I am not the only one here. There's still a ton of people out there. And that finishes up that conversation. The next chapter, Castile calls Alistair out for continuing to refer to Poppy as the maiden and threatens him. So it's like, oh, we get another chest punching situation here? What's going to happen? And Alistair then approaches Castile, and we find out that Castile is not supposed to actually be here searching for his brother. His parents did not agree with him leaving Atlantia, and Poppy and Castile don't need to prove their love is real to gain Alistair's approval. It's to make him believe Castile isn't going after Malik. So it's like they have to prove that the marriage is going to be real, their love is real, so that Alistair is now thinking, oh, okay, no, like he went there to grab her and he's not going after Malik anymore. He's concerned with wanting to marry Poppy and wanting to live with Poppy. So it's like the expectation of what they're pretending to be has like shifted essentially in a very interesting way. So essentially, like, yeah, Castile is here against his parents' wishes. So they've been telling him, like, don't go after Malik, you're gonna get yourself killed. And he's like, that's my bro.
Yeah.
No. And has left. Alistair says, what was expected of you before you left still awaits your return. What? Like, as a prince, like, what could be expected of him? And Alistair requests to speak to Poppy alone. He questions her about how she learned to fight. She talks to him about Victor, and Alistair gives Poppy some of his background. So he's known Castile since he was born, and he knew Castile's mother really longer before that. And, long enough before that, when the queen was married to a different king. If we remember our lore from the last episode, Castile's mother, the queen, is Queen Iloana, who used to be married to who? Malik. So just keep that in our brain. So when she's like, oh, she was married to a different king, it was because it was King Malik. He says, Castile is like a son to me. In reality, he would have been a son of mine if fate hadn't played out differently. What?
WTF.
I know that the ages don't match, but that got me thinking of Littlefinger and Sansa.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, so there's some hidden love that you've got here. Like, he's got my woman kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. And Poppy uses her gift, and she feels Alistair's grief, but quickly pulls out of it. He pivots completely, asking Poppy if she knows Castile's romantic history. It's like, weird shift, but no. And he says that Castile used to be in love, but he was also engaged. So that's news.
I really, at this point, was like yelling at my book, like, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? I get it. It's for the plot. But I was like genuinely pissed off. I was like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Oh, yeah. Alistair's like, he's clearly trying to help. Like, he's clearly being like, hey, I can tell that there is stuff that he is leaving out, and you are clearly not in the know of all of this. Like, let me catch you up a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's trying to help her out, maybe not in the best way, but he's doing what he can in his old man ways. It's very much like an older person trying to like just spewing information at you, and you're like, they did what? And you're like, oh, you weren't really supposed to know that, were you?
Right.
So Castile's previous love was named Shay, and Alistair never thought he'd be able to love again after her. Like, that wound cuts real deep. And we find out that Shay was a Wolven and happened to be Alistair's daughter. So Alistair offers that if Poppy is truly being used in this marriage and, does not want, she's getting married against her will, he will help her to escape and not bring her back to the Ascended. He will simply help her out of the situation and get her safely elsewhere. And this is kind of harkening back to stuff that he used to do that we will get into when appropriate. And Poppy says no. She wants to be here and appreciates him giving the offer, though. And she gives him a little hug, and they say farewell. we can see that he is slowly reminding her more and more of Victor, like possibly paving the way for another fatherly relationship for her. Like, Poppy is super vulnerable right now. She's grieving for Victor. And Alistair is being so super kind and so genuine with her. Like, hey, I want to tell you all these truths. I want you to have all this information at your disposal.
Yeah.
And it's, it's very different from the relationship she had with Victor, obviously, but he's an elder male who is not filling the spot of her father figure, but, giving little hints of it. Like, hey, I could be this for you, Poppy asks Alistair about her parents, but he does not recognize their names, but promises he will ask around when they arrive in Atlantia to see if her parents had used their network. So at this point, I'll kind of back up a little bit. Alistair, when Poppy was, younger, and for many years before that, was kind of a smuggler of sorts when he would help smuggle people out of Solus. So after the war ended and all of these, Atlanteans and half Atlanteans were essentially trapped by the Ascended because they couldn't reveal who they were and were trying to flee, but needed to do so undetected. So Alistair would kind of step in to help them get out of Solus undetected. So it's something that he's done before. And she wonders, given that her parents were trying to also flee Solus when they died, is it possible that Alistair would know the person that was helping them out? Not that it was him specifically, but if he knows, who was helping them.
He might have connections.
Exactly. In chapter 13, Alistair leads Poppy to a room, then she enters it and sees there's books everywhere. And suddenly an arm grabs her by the waist and she's back in Castiel's lap. What? Like, whenever, I adore that as soon as he lays eyes on her at any point, he just scoops her and is like, mine. Yep. Like, you should get over here. I'm like, oh. There's something about being grabbed around the waist by, like, a person you know.
Yeah.
And just, like, getting held. Oh, it's great.
I love that description. Oh, so good.
He does it over and over and over again, and we just love it. Kieran is also there. They both question Poppy and immediately clocked that Alistair offered his aid. They're essentially talking to her and they're like, so he offered to get you out, right? You can tell us. We know he offered. And she's just like, yeah, he did, but I told him no.
It just reminded me of like a scene in New Girl, like of Schmidt and Nick like questioning Jess. I
was like, I've only seen it through once, but I wonder if I remember. And the three of them start bantering away. It's very natural. Reads very natural. And Poppy asks if Castiel is meant to take the throne when he gets back to Atlantia. If he becomes king, she would become his queen. Mm-hmm. And he says that a king and queen can only rule for 400 years. And if their child doesn't assume the throne, then anyone can come forward and challenge for it. So it's, okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. So his parents have ruled far over 400 years because they've ruled essentially since the war ended, but only because it's been such a time of, like, chaos, essentially, for the Atlanteans. So it just hasn't come up that it's time for someone else to take the throne. They continue bantering, but get more heated, and he makes fuck me eyes at her. And she hates it, but we love it. Got it? Good. If you haven't gotten to that point yet, we just really want to see these people fuck.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. Yeah. So bad. So, quick cut to Poppy and Kieran in the library, and Poppy has stumbled upon some old Atlantean records and asks him what a wyvern and siren are. And I just need to take a moment to point out how this is just another thing with, like, fantasy books that it's like a love-hate relationship. The way that JLA doesn't even write wyvern as Wyvern.
Yeah.
And she doesn't say sirens. She says siren.
Like,
and it's not,
they have to do their own little spin-off on spelling.
I know. It's like, I get it,
I
but like,
understand.
oh my God, we know what they are. Just say what they are.
Wyvern, I feel like the first time I read it, Wyvern, I read it in like a Southern context. I was like, oh, is this like the Southern version of Wyvern?
Yeah. But JLA quickly just smacks the shit out of us like, you fucking thought. You thought you knew what I was going to do. And we're just like, okay, I'm sorry. Because guess what? Wyvern are actually an Atlantean bloodline that was killed off during the war that has the ability to change into large cats. They are non-winged creatures at all.
They're nowhere near resemblance.
Absolutely not. So as soon as like you think one thing like, a wyvern, a siren, like, come on. She's like, you thought. They're actually a cat.
It's a cat.
So fuck you. We're like, oh, okay, sorry, mother.
You've been punked.
Pretty much. Kieran's arm brushes Poppy's, and he says he kind of feels like a shock when they touched, like a static charge. And it's like, that's weird. But he gets very tense and nervous about it. And we find out that Wolven can actually lose control of their form when they come into contact with electricity. So, what?
What?
So it's like, so are you guys just walking around Atlantia, like, fingers crossed that nothing happens? Like, there's gotta be more to this. Like, there's gotta be. So it's like, okay, is it just the shock? Wow, so I guess, like, lynch sheets are probably gold to them. I don't even know. Like, it's such an interesting little section. It's such an interesting little detail.
It is. It's worth noting.
Worth noting. And a further lore alert, we learn about the Draken. And if you're thinking, Draken, that sounds like dragon, I would say, hold your horses, but also don't, because we are smarter than we think we are. Draken is a bloodline that can shift into a creature with large wings and talons, and some can even breathe fire. What? You mean like a dragon? We have dragons? We have dragons! Where are they? Show us the Draken! Unfortunately, the Draken were basically gone before the Vampire was ever made. So they've been like gone. Because legend says that they sleep with the gods or protect the gods' resting places. So Draken are like very high regard, like very high ranking, especially to not only sleep with the gods, but then also protect the resting places. Like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
But they're pretty much gone though. Like no one sees them. No one knows where they are. The Siren, if you're thinking, geez, that sounds like a siren, this is one where you would be right.
Mm-hmm.
The Siren were half mortal, half water folk. Mermaids. No, I'm a merman. Yeah, I don't know, the Zoolander bit. I love, whenever I hear mermaids, I just think of, I'm a merman. Merman. And they can grow fins and they live by water. But they also faded out before the War of Two Kings. So a lot of these Atlantean lines were either wiped out in the war or just went naturally extinct pretty much prior to. Another line called the Centurions is kind of a name that fits for multiple old bloodlines because the Centurions were born as warriors, not trained. Like, they popped out that badge ready to throw hands, you know? They wiggled their way out, and then they were like, you want to fight? So that's essentially Centurions. And the war, in fact, that ended most of the Centurion lines started with an uprising of elementals against the deities. So the deities essentially, so the elementals went to war with the people, like those that created them, which is like, what the fuck? That's wild. And by the end of that war, most of all the deities were wiped out. Entire bloodlines were gone, but one deity remained on the throne, the one who created the first vampire, King Malik. And he was the child of two ancient deities. So more discussion on Atlantean lines. Some could summon the elements like earth, wind, fire, as well as rain.
I couldn't remember the line.
Girl, it's the line of the song.
I know.
September. And there's also another line called the empaths. And the empaths are a warrior bloodline that were more feared to encounter in battle. They were more feared because they can read the emotions of others and turn those emotions into a weapon, amplifying pain or fear back at the people that are projecting the emotions. So, like, that's danger zone.
That's intense.
Yeah. And Castile believes that Poppy may be descended from this line, and because it would make perfect sense given her gift. Like, yeah, you can read emotions, so could the empaths. It's kind of 1-to-1. So Poppy and Castile's faces are just so fucking close at this point. Like, she's reading up from a book, and he's like reading from a book, like right next to her, and it's just like, just give me a little more, just a little, just geez.
Yes.
But she continues asking questions, of course. And Nail shows up anyway. I should say, she doesn't continue asking questions. She questions what she wants. Like, do I actually want to kiss him? I don't know. Before she can make up her mind, Nail shows up, and they've got company because the Ascended have arrived. What?
Fuck.
What?
Fuck.
Yeah. Fuck. Castile sneaks Poppy out of the keep and into the snow, and there are royal knights here, not just the royal guard. So the royal guard was compiled, as you might remember, of mortals. The royal knights, however, are all ascended. So, the big guns have been called in. Like, there's no way that they don't know that the maiden is missing, or their maiden, I should say. Poppy and Castile are hiding in the tree line. They're watching the knights in the yard and can't help but still bicker quietly about Poppy's ignorance for when she originally tried to run away. Like, not the greatest time. Why are you bringing this up again? Like,
yeah.
He literally brings it up again. Like, I really can't believe you're about to run out into this. It's like,
yeah.
What? Stop. We're done. Pocketed that discussion, okay?
Yeah. And then I think he's asking her if she can see what's going on, and she's like, I don't have super special Atlantean eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. She's so jealous of their eyes. It's so funny.
And he goes, and I'm sure it fills you with wrathful envy. It did.
He reads her every time.
Yeah.
And Castile starts getting kind of pissy about it, but he ends the conversation. He's like, well, she can make her own choices. He wouldn't let her go back to the Ascended anyway. He says, I wouldn't allow that because I refuse to carve your name into the wall down below. Oh my God. Like, even when he's like getting mad at her, he's just so clearly loves the shit out of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
He cares so much. And so, snapping back to the situation that's literally right in front of them, quite dire actually, Elijah's kind of the spokesperson of the keep, and he does a great job telling the night off and making excuses for the missing lord. So if we remember, New Haven did not have any like ascended lord or anything like that. Like, there were no ascended here. So that's like, all right, we got to make up excuses why they're not here. So now we're going to meet Lord Cheney, who is an ascended. And Poppy recalls that he's always been polite to her, which is like better than what can be said about all of the other ascended that she's ever met. So, like, yay for him, I guess. And they are 100% here looking for Poppy. And Cheney has a prisoner, Mrs. Toulis. The poor Toulis family just has been through it. They cannot catch a break. Like, cannot. Mrs. Toulis has been used to confirm the sighting of Poppy in New Haven. And suddenly, without warning, Cheney just moves with the ascended quickness and just snaps her neck. She's dead. Like, done. Like, oh my God, what the fuck? So they're right off the bat snapping necks.
Yeah.
And because like they have a back and forth as far as like Elijah saying, well, obviously she's lying. We don't have the maiden here. And so Chaney's like, well, if she's lying, I'll just kill her. It's like, oh, fuck.
Sadistic fuck.
Yeah. So we're just like, oh, okay, he might have been polite to you, but he is just like the others. Just like the others. And one night steps forward out of line and just kills a dissenter standing by, just guts him. Another one grabs a boy. Like, they're just like all of a sudden like, oh, you're dead. Oh, you're ours. And it's like, whoa. And things are getting real tense. Castile can tell. So he leaves the safety of the brush, but not before handing her a dagger. Her bloodstone woven bone dagger.
No, she doesn't have to use the meat knife anymore.
No meat knife. R.I.P. meat knife. We knew you too little. So as Castile kind of leaves the brush and we're just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Delano comes up next to her in his woven form. And she also spots Kieran also in the tree line, but not far away. Castile is approaching Chaney and he identifies himself as the Dark One. And he confirms like, yes, I do actually have the maiden. And so he puts on that face of the Dark One, got to keep up the appearances. So Chaney and the Knights all change and their faces go full vampy, dropping their jaws. And I don't know about you, I picture the Van Helsing jaw dropping like...
Yes.
Oh,
Here we go. Oh,
terrifying. But that is a signal. It's on. It is
danger.
On. Chapter 15 opens. Let's fight. Elijah kills one of the knights with a bloodstone sword, and the Ascended cracks and flakes off, kind of like Voldemort, when he's just like that. And he just kind of flakes away like that. As dumb as that death scene was, but I won't go into that.
And before when they're about to break out, Castile flashes his fangs and goes, mine are bigger than yours! Ah!
I'm sure that's not all that's bigger than his. And just to further horn us up, Castile bites into an Ascended's neck and rips it open and then spits out the blood. Oh, violent men like this. Just like the fighting and the blood just... So there's a ton of fighting going on there. Poppy spots a vampire with the boy. And he's like literally holding this boy as a shield, which is like, so no one can fire arrows at him. So she's like, not in front of me, not today. So she sprints after them. She throws her dagger at him, hitting him directly in the eye because fucking she's a badass bitch. And Lord Chaney, right, you're still here. So, and he also has the same boy now. So after she killed that one vampire, she still says to this kid, like, hey, run away. And then she turns around and Lord Chaney's there and the boy's captured again. And it's just like, what don't you understand? Run away from the battle. Oh my God. So he slowly lures Poppy away from the fight and convinces her to drop her weapon by saying, like, you surrender yourself to me, I won't kill the boy. And Poppy, out of the goodness of her heart, she's like, yes, like, don't hurt him. Like, she doesn't want to see anybody get hurt. And as soon as she drops her weapon, knocked out. And it's like, that's not good. She wakes up in a carriage and Lord Chaney's with her. And he begins to question her about, like, what she's been up to, how she's been treated, what are the Atlanteans doing? And he notices Castile's bite mark from the, from the Blood Forest from the last book.
Yeah.
So, because that was technically only, like, a few nights ago.
Yeah.
So, he sees the bite mark and she still tries to convince him that she's still truly the maiden. Like, no, I'm still me. Don't worry. Even though there's, like, zero evidence to confirm. Because even the way that she's speaking to him, like, first of all, she's unveiled. So that's clue number one to him. Like, all right, something's up. And number two, it's like she's talking with him a lot more openly and being a lot more, like, witty and, like, bitchy towards him, which deservedly so. But this is all kind of cluing him in, like, something has changed here. I don't think you're still as dedicated as you are. And so he picks up on this and does not believe her at all. Things quickly escalate, and I guess we could throw up a trigger warning here for like some overpowering kind of scenario. Because it was a tough read. It's really quite dire for Poppy. So Cheney corners her in the already locked carriage. Like, she's already cornered, but he corners her even more. And he overpowers her and then bites her in the lower arm. So in this instance, like, Poppy continues and continues to be abused by the Ascended, and just in more and more different and torturous ways. Like, at this, they're disgusting. There are no good Ascended. They all need to be wiped out, in my opinion. Like, they're terrible, because he not only bites her without permission, but he batters her up first. Like, he assaults her first. He hits her. Like, he beats her, and then he also makes it painful. So he is just wailing on her, and then chooses to bite her, and then chooses to make it painful for her. So it's like just bad on bad on bad, and it's like no one's there. It's literally just it's just the two of them.
And he makes
no one else is there.
He makes a comment before as he's attacking her, getting ready to bite her. He's like, I just need a sit. I just need to try. And this whole scene, like, one, I was genuinely terrified while reading it. The way that she writes it out, I was like, I was scared to let my dogs out at night. I was like, Cheney's going to pop around from the corner.
Oh my God, yeah. he's the most vampiric we've seen any of the Vampiry.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And, so Poppy feels the burning of his bite. And in this moment, I know it's a very serious moment.
I already know where you're going.
It did remind me of Bella being bitten in Twilight. I said, whoa, whoa. Lay me down straight, I'll wrap you in my arms.
And the camera pans out.
And she's just standing there. But it is nothing like that, actually. She fights back. It's nothing like that scenario. She fights back. She just, like, is stabbing him wherever she can.
Yes.
But, because Return of the Meat Knife, baby! Meat Knife is still here! Meat Knife is here! Just kidding! Meat Knife back to do whatever damage that she can, because obviously her bloodstone dagger is back at the battlefield, but she still had her handy dandy meat knife
coming in clutch.
Yeah, so she is just stabbing him wherever that she can, but she has to do it repeatedly because, as vampires are, he's so engulfed in her arm and the bloodlust and the feeding that she knew that it wasn't going to kill him, but at least it would hurt him. Yeah. So it's almost like she's stabbing him over and over and over again, and he's just not even there. But as Poppy is stabbing him, the carriage door gets ripped away. Cheney is ripped away, and it's just like, whoa, what happened? Because Castiel's here. Castiel came to save her.
Right in the nick of time.
Oh my God. Because, she is not doing good. Like, she has been pretty much fully drained almost at this point. And we're not surprised that he found her. He will always find her. And she passes out, and he carries her back to safety. So Poppy wakes up to Castiel by her side because he, absolutely doesn't care about her. Why would he be there? And she remembers actually feeding from her to speed up her own healing. So in her haze, she remembers, that he fed her his blood. And they discuss when she wakes up, they discuss her Atlantean blood and Castiel giving her his blood because his parents, the king and queen, they wouldn't be too happy about that because Atlanteans giving mortals their blood is super forbidden because of the risk of the ascension. So for him to do that, so the biggest no-no that he's ever crossed at this point, as far as his parents would be concerned. And Poppy says that she appreciates him giving her his blood because she'll have one less scar, but he makes a point to tell her that her scars are beautiful, but he doesn't want her to get any more either.
I love that line.
Yeah.
I love that line so much.
It's not still telling her no, your scars are still absolutely beautiful, but doesn't mean that you really need any more anyway. Like, I love you for who you are, but let's not further scar you, you know? She asks about the injured. Sorry. She asks about the injured and urges him to let her go assist. So this is another instance that she is making a choice to want to go and help others. You know, she's never been able to openly use her gift, but now she can, and she gets to use it to help as many people as she can. So that's a really big moment, especially where she's still healing herself. So the fact that she's immediately like, I gotta go help all these people. Mm-hmm. She's an empath, not in bloodline, but in heart too.
Yeah.
You know, the people that she's about to go help are not the ones who have welcomed her, but she really doesn't care. And it's also worth pointing out, like, she's not using this as an opportunity to, like, get in their good graces. That's not her first thought. Like, oh, I can use my gift to go heal them and make them like me. It's like, oh, these people are suffering and I have the power to help them. So I want to go help them. And it's just, she's so pure and good. And we love her so, so, so much. So much.
That entire chapter is just everything. Like, Poppy facing down fear in the directly, literally being attacked by someone who represented her entire existence, right? And just the whole interaction with her and Castile, it's just so good.
So good. In chapter 17, Castile and Poppy walk in to assess the injured and assist them. And they stop first, though, to see that something's happened. So on the battlefield where Poppy was taken, a blood tree has appeared, and everyone believe that it's an omen. It's a sign that the gods are watching them, and it's a signaling of great change coming. So, like, that's random.
Mm-hmm.
And one by one, Poppy goes from bed to bed, taking the pain of those in need of relief. And she helps ease the pain of a woman named Kiev, who says, "Now I understand. Jasper will be interested." Okay. It's kind of
like,
cryptic.
What?
Weird. The amount of things that people say to Poppy, and she doesn't just, like, grab them by the shoulders and be like, I'm going to need you to explain that to me right now.
Yeah. Just like, okay. All right.
For all the questions that she asks, you would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she approaches another woman who tells her, "You are a second daughter, not a maiden, but chosen nonetheless." So this is yet another person that is telling her that she is a second daughter. She's like, I'm the first daughter, like, I'm a second child.
Yeah.
Not a second daughter, though. Like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all these Wolven are getting real cryptic with her.
Mm-hmm.
And Alistair, Poppy, and Castile eventually leave the Room of Wounded and speak about the empath warriors. So is it possible that Poppy could be descended of that line? You know, if anyone's really going to know out here, it's Alistair. And empath warriors in the past, also just empath warrior, I adore that.
I do too.
I love that so much.
I do too.
In the past, they wouldn't only read people's emotions, but they would also feed off the energy from said emotions. And they were called soul eaters. So she's like an energy vampire. She's Colin Robinson.
Colin Robinson.
Like, that's the first thing. I'm like, oh, so you feed off their energy. You're an energy vampire.
I believe in my notes, the very first time we read through these books, I shared a picture of him in the chat. That is 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so funny. And Alistair believes that the people will feel more comfortable once they get to know her and understand that she, in fact, cannot siphon off the energy of others. So while she may be of, like, the empath line, she does not have that full kind of spectrum of powers.
Mm-hmm.
At least not yet. She's going through the culling. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? Yeah. So Alistair leaves, and Poppy mentions that the woman from the Red Pearl also said something to that, similar to that woman who said that she was a second daughter. And Castile's like, I don't know what woman you're talking about from the Red Pearl. And she's like, she was literally the one that told me to go to your room. What are you talking about? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know who she is. And it's like, okay. So as they're walking, out of nowhere, Castile just like pulls her into a closet of herbs, and bit by bit just starts getting closer to her. They play a little like cat and mouse. They get some banter in there. And he says, there's one more thing I need. Something that I've needed for days, weeks, months, maybe forever. You. Let me just breathe for a second. So he proposes that when it is just the two of them, they can pretend to be Poppy and Hawk again. And they can just share a kiss. Oh. And she says, yes! We can 2 chapters in! Oh. So he kisses her lightly, and then she urges him on, and then he obliges her, so he's like really kissing her, and he starts to feel her up, and he grazes his fangs over like his previous bite. And Poppy's like, actually, she thinks internally like, kind of want him to bite me again. Do I want that? And we're just like, yes, again. Instead, he grabs her by the thighs and like hoists her up and pins her against the door. Just continues to like kiss her neck and teasing with his fangs, but he never bites her. Does not draw blood. It is so goddamn fucking hot. Mm-hmm. Like, and unfortunately enough, he does end the kiss, saying that he thinks that's enough. It's like, no, it's not. It's not enough. I'm being edged. I don't like that. And he says, don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you didn't think it was enough. Because it wasn't enough.
It wasn't.
No, damn you and your self-control. God damn. But now he wants to give her a gift. His dick? No. Retribution.
Damn it.
Dang, not the D. No D yet. They once again go down into the dungeons, and Kieran is waiting for them. So, ladies and gentlemen, let the bantering begin yet again.
And you on. One of my favorite lines. You wound me. You wound me whenever she's teasing him. You wound me.
It's so adorable. They're already having their little side jokes and stuff, even though they don't know that's what they are yet. The gift is Lord Cheney, and he's chained and tied up.
Let's fucking go.
So they captured him instead. So they did not, when he was torn from that carriage and we don't know what happened to him, this is what happened to him.
He was not dead.
Thank God for that, honestly. Mm-hmm. So they captured him and held him down here for Poppy to decide how his life was ended. But Kieran kind of already tore out his tongue because he was annoying him. Hell yeah, dude. Rip out his tongue. Fuck yeah. So Poppy accepts this gift and stabs him in the heart with her bloodstone dagger that Castile has once again found and returned to her. And like, adorable. We love it. However, she needs to keep that thing on a bungee. Yeah. Like,
she's losing it. She's losing it all the time.
I don't know how many of you out there are Supernatural heads. I don't know if you watched Supernatural, but it reminded me of that. Literally, it's such a small moment, but it's from, I think it's in season 4 or 5 when Sam and Dean go to the Supernatural convention that's happening, and one of the guys is dressed up like the Hookman, and he goes, "Oh my god, Sam and Dean's, their weapons, like their guns, are always getting thrown across the room. Why can't they just put them on a bungee or something?" I'm like, hell yeah, I'm using that. The little things that our ADHD brains pick up on, and they're just sitting there until the proper moment. I probably won't think about that episode again for another 5 years. And we get another lore alert for, some more detail as far as what the Wolven and Atlantean bonds are. So those who are bonded can tell when the other one is in pain or suffering. So, like, for example, while Castile was being held captive, Kieran could never, satiate his hunger. He could never keep weight on. He was always sickly. And this is for decades this was happening. And the bonds were created and started by the gods. And they say when their children, the deities, so the gods' children, were first born in this land, they summoned the once wild Kiyu wolves and gave them mortal forms so they could serve as their protectors and guides in a world that was unknown to them. They were the first Wolven. So the gods essentially created the Wolven in order to kind of assist and bond with the deities, their own children. So it's a very interesting manner of like parentification, or not parentification. It's an interesting like parent monitoring system.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
It's your built-in babysitter of
that's
sorts.
right.
And Malik's bonded Wolven unfortunately died trying to save him, and the bonding does not occur often. It's also not required of the Wolven, so it's a choice. So this is another little detail that I'm sure we'll find out about more in future books. But the fact that bonding is a choice, but it happens at like birth.
Yeah.
So I'd be very interested to find out kind of how that works, because I'm like, okay, so at birth, the Wolven have enough consciousness to be like, I don't want this, or I do want this. It's a gray area, you know? And Poppy leads Kieran down to the sacred place. She wants to take a moment there, and she carves the name of the Tulises in memory of them. So even after Mr. Tulis attempted to kill her, after Mrs. Tulis sold her out and got many others killed in the process, she still does them the in memoriam of carving their names in this sacred place. And I think that's just another testament to how kind she is.
Mm-hmm. Love her heart.
Such a big ol' heart.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 19, Poppy wakes from another nightmare, and Castile is there to comfort her again, telling her the same thing he did after Ryland's death. And like, just to be cuddled after a nightmare, just the squeezing, like, and by Castile in particular. And it definitely helps to replace the fear, and he can help replace it. What?
I wonder how.
Perked up. What now? Huh? And so now, personally, I'm not sure if I'd want to like roll around in bed after waking up from a nightmare about my parents being killed, but it's Castile. Who am I kidding? Of course we would.
There's a first for everything.
Right, you know. They play more pretend. He's just Hawk. She's just Poppy. And he starts to finger her and talks her through it. And I'm just going to take a moment. Mother, father, please, for the love of fucking God, skip the next minute. Okay. He says things like, that's it, ride my fingers. And when she starts to reach orgasm, he tells her, you can, you will. And just, I wish I could say I was speechless, but this is a podcast and I have to talk about it.
Yep.
But just like the sexual empowerment of that.
Seriously.
Like, oh my God. It's so hot.
And how every one of their encounters, right? We see this building, right? From the very first one in the willow tree. Well, technically the red pearl, but as they
know each other or whatever.
They know each other. The willow tree to here, he has just always given her the space to have control. And it's like he may be leading, but he leaves it completely in her court. Yeah. This entire scene is everything.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I fully comprehended what talking them through it really was until I read this scene, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
And he gives it her all, and he gives her all of it, takes none for himself. A true gentleman. Yep. He's like, nope, this is all about you. You finish, I'm good. And Poppy falls back to sleep. And it's like, I love a man that does this. It's such a massive green flag. The fact that not only does he just have her come first, but he doesn't come at all. He's like, actually, no, this isn't about me. I'm good. You get off. You know? And there's just something that it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So Poppy falls back to sleep, and when she wakes up, it is time to leave for Atlantia, but the first stop is Spessa's End. So the company prepares to head out, and Poppy is reacquainted with Seti and is seated with Castile again since she can't ride herself. And they start to leave, but Poppy comments that Castile cannot claim her because she's no one but her own. Yes. He asks if he can just have a piece, but she doesn't answer him because he already held more pieces than he knows.
No.
They are, like, obviously we don't know from Castile's point of view, but, like,
they're so good.
They're so clearly in love.
They're
so clearly in love. And we want them to be in love and open with each other, but that's not how these books work. So this is the point in the book, like, yeah, I start wanting to run through a wall because they both obviously love each other, and playing pretend is only going to help those feelings go away, right? No. So it's this burning, and we have to just sit there and burn. And that's also why I'm happy I could just blow through these books in like 2 weeks now, because I'm like, I don't have to wait around.
Yeah.
And so that part is just beautiful. And Castile also made a point to mention that he burned the cloak that Poppy was attacked in.
Yeah, like that is, I mean, if that's not a sign of love, like, are you serious? Took the time to, like, rid any remembrance of that.
Yeah.
You're in love with the girl.
It reminded me almost of, even though Boo ascended, we don't like the ascended, it reminded me of the Duchess after the Lord Mazine and the Duke were killed. And she's like, we're not going to speak their names anymore. Just let their names die with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so Castile doing that is just more of a physical representation of doing that.
Absolutely.
And it's coming from him, so we like it more anyway.
Yep.
So some hours later, Castile calls Poppy out because she is being uncharacteristically quiet. And she admits that she just doesn't know how she's supposed to act as his fiancé. So she's lived her entire life veiled as the maiden, pretty much, because, like, 6 to 8 years old, like, you're a child. So she doesn't fully understand who she is, let alone how she's supposed to, like, behave around other people. So there's a lot swimming around. She's like, I know who I am with Poppy and Hawk, but, like, when I'm out and I'm supposed to be the Dark One's fiance, like, how am I supposed to be, like, acting, essentially? And Castile assures her that she only needs to be who she wants to be. So he does not want her to be like the timid and silenced version of herself that the maiden role forced her to be. So it's like, spread those wings, girl. Yeah. Spread the wings. You will fly. And they talk about her abuse and how she learned to dissociate during her lessons, which it's like, fuck. So that's a tough point there, because I'm like, yes, I remember dissociating and how that came about. And it's always, it's always been easier for her to make herself fit in with what they wanted her to be rather than try to express herself for who she is. So she's just running by the, factory settings of, I am who they say I am. I behave the way that they tell me to behave. Like, she has zero idea as to who she is. And that's so fucking tragic. On top of everything else being thrown at this poor girl. Yeah. She's just even lost in her own self on top of all of it. But yeah, Castile assures her, no, you be who you want to be, and however long that it takes you to figure it out, as long as it's who you are. And they talk about her abuse, like I said, and she does hold guilt, though, for her time, that she was used by the Ascended. But Castile tells her that while that might be true, she is currently working against them in an effort to dismantling their entire reign.
Right.
So he kind of puts it in check for her. Like, I get it. You have more than enough reason to feel this way. However, you are on horseback with their mortal enemy and actively working to, like, destroy them. So, like, I'd say you're making up for it step by step.
Yep.
And Poppy also starts, discussing the impact of Victor's death for the first time.
Yeah.
And Castile says, I think it comes down to whether you can make amends with yourself, because she does feel that guilt for, like, what if we weren't out at the, under the willow tree? He wouldn't have had to come out there. If he hadn't have come out there, you wouldn't have been sent away and he wouldn't have been with me. So it's like, it's just one of those things where you just try to track back the what if, what caused this kind of things in your brain. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, no matter what, who knows what could have lined up the fates to put him in that exact spot to be killed. But it all comes down to, like, it's not her fault and you need to accept that. And it's just, oof.
Yeah, reading that line was super impactful, because obviously, while I have not dealt with a death in a castle being attacked by a bunch of Wolven, right? I have dealt with, like, a unexpected death. And that sentence is so fucking true. So fucking true. Like, it's been 9 years for me. And I think up until 2 years ago, I finally understood what the meaning of that sentence is. So when I tell you reading that, I was like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Is this fucking play about us?
No, but for real, though, it sometimes seems like that. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And Castile makes a move on her as she argues about their engagement. She argues that their engagement is simply a business agreement. But he's like, I disagree. And he taunts her and taunts her and taunts her until she snaps. And what does she do?
Elbows him in the stomach.
Real quick. Boom. Like, just like the way that he's touching on her, and like the circling of the thumbs and his fingies, and like, it's just, the tension is so good.
Yes.
And they have some more banter.
Yeah, it's not I can't ever say his name right. Nail. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, are you guys fighting over there? And Castile's like, oh, it's just a love tap. Nail goes, that did not look like a love tap. And Castile goes, it's because it was a very passionate one. Poppy goes, one of the best lines, you're about to get a love tap to the face.
And it will be a passionate one. It's so funny. So he schools her on what relationships are like and how they can look to others, because she's never been in a relationship or seen a truly functional one, to be quite honest. She really only can base it off of her parents, and she wasn't around them for very long. Poppy asks Castile about his love, his first love, and all he says is that she's gone, and Poppy reaches out with her gift and feels his anguish. She almost attempts to touch him to take it away, but he says no, he wants it. It serves as a reminder and a warning, one that he never plans to forget. And all fun and jokes aside, Castile rolls into the conversation of telling Poppy that when she leaves to go out into the world and find herself a mate who has never lied, which, like, god damn, he's just, he still holds that. It's almost like he holds some guilt himself for everything that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it does tell us, like, that he probably has some guilt for it, but he also, intends to honor their deal. He's like, no, I fully, you get to go do you. After all is said and done, I am not going to hold you to these, this marriage. And Poppy reflects on what he said and stays firm that she will leave and she will not see him again after they both get what they want. But if that is truly what she wanted, why does she feel like crying when she thinks about it? And, like, this is a point where I yell into, I wish I had the physical book, but I don't, so I yell at my computer, like, bitch, I know, Poppy, I know you don't know what love feels like. I know.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, you feel this way because you love him.
You love him.
Like, It's
Love him.
It's so interesting to try to like put yourself back in that shoes of like, oh, I don't know what this feeling is. Like, I feel like we're so much older now and experienced in our 30-aughts that like we know what that feeling is, so we can identify it. But hearing about it and reading about it, it's like we identify, but she can't, and she's also 18, so it's like
Cue.
I want to.
Cue Meg from Hercules. Meg and Hercules.
There it is. I don't know how I didn't make that connection. I only have the same fucking name.
We put our brains together, Megan. We put our brains together.
Two halves of a whole idiot. Just kidding. I don't think you're an idiot. I don't even remember where I heard that. I wish I could.
Maybe that'll be our new podcast name.
Two halves of a whole idiot. I love that. And during this exchange between the two of them, we also want to point out that like there's a massive bird that is spotted in a tree nearby, and it's called a silverhawk. And they're large enough to snatch up children. Just so you know.
God.
Okay. So 3 days pass, and not much else happens. It's pretty quiet until the adventuring party comes across some symbols in the trees that belong to the Dead Bones clan. It's very Blair Witchy, like all these like makeshift symbols scattered in the trees. And the Dead Bones clan are a collection of people who used to live all over Solus and the Blood Forest, but they've been forced to relocate to the woods and hills that, you know, Poppy and the gang are now riding through. So they've essentially been like uprooted and forcibly relocated. And they're very hills have eyes. Why are they hills have eyes? Because these people kill and eat anyone they come across, whether they are ascended, mortal, Atlantean, Wolven, regardless, eat anyone they come across, and then they use their bones and flesh for masks. So these people wear the faces of their dead people. Speaking of Midsummer, wearing the dead face, like they skin that kid. And, you know, so like, no reason to panic. It's all gonna be fine. But no, cue the attack. And immediately two arrows hit Castile, knocking him off of Seti. One through his shoulder, one through his back. But he's already armed Poppy with a crossbow. And it's kind of funny, the way JLA describes it, it's like, oh, like she's kind of being taught how to use this crossbow. Like, oh yeah, it's like a bow and arrow, but it, you know, you just have to load the arrow and pull a trigger. It's very interesting. I love when authors have to like describe these technological advancements like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Seti does throw Poppy from the saddle, but she's grabbed by Castile, and he hold on to her tight. But we learn that he's holding her on tight because he's a shield for her, because he takes another arrow that hits him from behind, and he simply just says how annoying that's getting. Like, hot.
He's like, oh.
Yeah, he does. He looks back and he's like, I make wearing arrows look good, don't I? And it's like, not the time, but like, yeah, you do.
It reminds me of that meme of Olaf from Frozen. Stab with the icicle. I'm impaled.
Oh, look, I've been impaled. That's 100% what that is like. One of the people of the Dead Bones clan, they runs at Poppy. She defends herself. But he taunts her, talking about how he's going to use her mouth. Ew. No. And he asks, what kind of bitch are you? And she stabs him like through the chin into his head and replies, I'm this kind of bitch.
Let's go, girl.
Yeah, girl. Tell him. The fight concludes, and Poppy sees the same hawk, you know, earlier flying overhead. So, like, who knows what the hell this hawk is, but it's clearly keeping tabs on him at some point. And Castile tends to her wounded arm, but she protests, saying, like, you've got 3 arrows sticking out of you. I can wait. And he's like, yeah, they're annoying. They're just an annoyance.
It's no big deal.
No biggie. Like, oh my God. I'm getting too horny. And as he goes to wrap her arm, she notices that his like pupils are dilated and he looks like he's struggling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So to read from the book, it says his throat worked on a swallow and his lips parted. There was the barest hint of fangs. So he's like, it almost, okay, so for anyone that's played Baldur's Gate 3, so like very light spoilers for like the second long rest you get in Baldur's Gate. But Astarion, who is like my love, I love that character so fucking much. He is a vampire. And there's a point in the game where you discover that he's a vampire, and it's got a close up on his mouth, and you just see him like working his lips like a cat. Like, you know when a cat does like the like the little squeak? It's like just very subtly like flicking his fangs like and I'm like
yeah, I'm like an hour into Baldur's Gate because I'm stuck on this one fight for like 4 hours and I just keep dying. So
oh, sorry, spoiler.
Oh.
You probably knew. It's everywhere. Oh, I feel bad now. So
do we want to rewind? Do we want to redo that?
Oh no, I just feel bad that I spoiled it for you.
Oh, it's okay. I'll probably forget, honestly.
Well, now you know why I love Astarion and why my College of Lore submission for Smut Thursday was Astarion. So, so he says that his eyes kind of dilate like that. They just kind of do they just do that sometimes. And he carries on helping her. And it's like, well, that's the first time we've seen that happen. And we haven't been around you for long, but that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Kieran returns from his woven form and he is naked. He is naked, but he does not care. He simply doesn't care because there's no nudity stigmas among the woven.
Love
what a
that.
life. Yeah.
Love
Body
it.
positivity, nudity positivity. And as the three of them banter back and forth about how Kieran's naked, and she's like, "Can you put some pants on, please? Like, you just stick in the wind. Like, please, I'm trying not to look at it." And so he goes to do that. And Castile then starts pulling the arrows out of himself. And if you're wondering, hey, Megan and Rachel, is that hot? Yes, it's fucking hot.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh God, I can picture it. Even though I said I have trouble picturing those things, I do it in a movie sense. I know that that shot exists in a movie somewhere, and I can't remember what it's from, but there is absolutely one. It's not. Oh no, it's Shrek. Oh no. It's Shrek pulling the arrow out of his ass. I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Bye. Oh my God. Scared to come back.
So would that make the Duke Lord Farquaad?
I hope so. Holy shit! I can't believe that I just made that connection. We are
now opening the fandom to From Blood and Ash in the version of Shrek.
Oh
Fanfic,
boy!
Pop off.
Oh, does that make Kieran Tonk? All right, I'm done.
We have to get off this track. We have to get off.
They're riding. They're riding along, and Poppy notices that she starts leaning back into Castile because it's like, "Oh, are you feeling comfortable, girly? Are you starting to get comfy?" And the next day, they reach Stygian Bay, and this is rumored to be the gateway to the Temples of Eternity, aka Rain's land, so the god Rain. And they've reached Stygian Bay's shores in Pompeii. And the god Rain himself is said to be sleeping beneath the surface of the Stygian Bay, which if I wasn't like terrified of open water already, the fact that you could be swimming in there and there's just a god sleeping in there, no thank you. That's worse than a megalodon.
Yeah.
Jesus. I would never go in the water. So Castile holds Poppy close because he's like, he comments on how she's so warm, and she teases him about it, which causes her to laugh. And he says, you don't do that enough. And it's so sweet. Like, we've already touched on like her laughter and how much he loves her laughter, but he just continues to bring up how much he loves it and comment on like how she doesn't do it enough. And it's just so cute. So they travel through the remains of an abandoned town, but it's not like so old and abandoned that nature's like started to take it over. So it's still relatively fresh in ruin, if that makes sense. And the Ascended destroyed the town and displaced the people living in it simply because no Ascended just wanted to live that far east. So like, instead of letting dissenters and the Atlanteans rule their own land, the Ascended chose to like raise it all to the ground instead. What the fuck? Like, that's absolutely diabolical. And so they, the way the Ascended did this was they came in the night and they killed literally everybody they could, and they fed on literally everyone, man, woman, and child, and killed them all.
Like, the layers just keep adding on how horrible they are.
They were, yeah, for real. And Castile and the gang actually went and buried all 656 people that were killed. And it's devastating. The fact that they're walking through these ruins like that. And now we reach chapter 22. And we'll shout out that there is a trigger warning for this chapter. We'll get to it once we kind of get into the chapter a little bit more. But there's a little bit of like a consent play here. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through this chapter. After they ride through the graveyard town, Castile lets out a call signal. And when we see the rise, it's smaller than the ones in Solus, but it's still pretty tall. It's like, a couple dozen feet tall, I would say, maybe 12 feet tall-ish. And this town is Spess's End. And it suffered the same fate as Pompeii, but they reclaimed it. So Atlanteans are once again living there and building it up and reinforcing it. The Ascended have no idea. So it's secret. So as they enter Spess's End, a boy and a smaller wolven run up to them, and the wolven's so cute. He's like jumping around. He's so adorable. Meet Beckett. He is the sweetest little good boy and Alistair's great nephew. And he's just so cute. I love Beckett. The boy is named Quentin, and he kneels to his prince, and Castile tells him to rise and call him by his name like everyone else. So clearly, the Atlantean royals do things a little bit differently. At least Castile does. They arrive at the stables. Castile and Poppy have a moment, and they gaze into each other's eyes because how can you not? And he explains that everyone stationed here was selected due to their ability to fight. And they did that in case the Ascended ever did try to come back. So there's roughly 100 people here. And Poppy's upset that he didn't tell her earlier. But why? I don't know. He just more lies, I guess. I don't know. Like, why wouldn't he have told her? If this was where they were coming, she's already agreed to marry him. Like, there's all these, pillars set up to lead one to think that he would have told her about this, but he didn't. They arrive, and as they're escorted to their rooms, Quentin claims that he saw a cave cat out in the wilds, but there's none alive in this area. So it's like, oh, buddy, like tap on the head, like, yeah, sure you did, bud. And cave cats, if we haven't talked about it yet, I don't know if we did in the first couple episodes, but like, they're just like super big cats.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And they get to their suite and think about bathing, but decide, nah, it's too much work to draw the bath. So Quentin then comments on, he's like, yeah, I can't wait to take a shower again because they have plumbing in Atlantia. And Poppy's like, what? And Castile it was very interesting once again, like, seeing how JLA describes what a shower is, I'm like,
Yeah.
like, how do you even begin to process describing a shower to somebody? They're like, it's a shower. Right. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
But no, he's like, oh no, it's like a warm rainfall instead of a bath. And I was like, and Poppy's like, you're fucking lying. I don't believe you. And so he then leaves Poppy to tend to other matters, and she washes up and changes and falls back asleep. I wish I could fall asleep as easy as she does. However, they have been on the road for a few days, so like, makes sense.
Real. I need my weighted blanket. I need a fan. I need eye mask. Like, I would not survive.
No, not at all. I wouldn't either. And she wakes up the next morning and she's being snuggled up. She is snuggled up to Castile. And like she's got like his hand over his chest and her leg over his leg. Like any closer, she'd literally be inside of his skin. Like, so she's got her leg wrapped around his, but she's got no undies on. She's just got like this robe. She's got this like little robe that she's tied in the front, but like it's splitting open a little bit. And his hand is resting on her hip. And her mind wanders to literally exactly what you'd expect and thinks about all of their intimate experiences together. And so she starts to go a little horny. It's like, good, I'm glad we're on the same page. She starts thinking about how, as much as they are pretending, she is finding that it's getting easier not to have to pretend so much. The anxiety gets the best of her, and she starts to kind of look at him and how gorgeous he is, look at him sleeping. But then comes in that stupid negative self-talk that we all hate so much. She's looking at him thinking, if he is just so beautiful, why would he want her? Why did he still want her? And it's just, I want to punch those thoughts right in the fucking face. I'm like,
no.
He wants you because you're beautiful. You're right. Ugh, you're a hot mama too. Yes, you're a hot queen and we love you. So like several nights after her nightmare, or several nights ago after her nightmare, he had, got her to come, but he didn't himself. And so is that because like he just didn't want her in that way anymore? So it's not that he was holding himself back. It was that, she doesn't do anything for him. So that's why he didn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, she starts questioning her fucking scars again. We just like, we hate it. We say it so much. And
it's also very relatable though.
It's so much.
And that's like, that's why I think I hate it even more, because I'm like,
oh yeah,
talk about yourself like that. Don't talk about yourself like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, all right, let me go into the bathroom in the mirror real quick and make sure I say that to myself, I guess.
Yep.
One of those instances where we're a lot nicer to like other people than we are to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So JLA is just taking us to therapy.
Yep.
And Poppy decides to start detangling herself from Castile because she's now like all in her negative headspace and is like, this isn't right. And quicker than she can process, he wakes up and flips on top of her and grabs her by the throat. And his eyes are now dilated to the point that there's like no whites to his eyes. So I also just picture Demon Dean in this situation, which does not help.
This is the Shrek supernatural crossover.
No! Oh God! Oh God, no! They did a crossover with Scooby-Doo, not Shrek. Oh, let me live in this hotness, Rachel. Why do you do this? God damn it. I guess at this point, I'll take a moment to shout out, we've gotten to the point of the trigger warning.
Yes.
So we're going to have some consent, non-consent back and forth here. So as he flips on top of her and grabs her by her throat, his lips peel back, revealing his fangs, and it's clearly not the normal Castile we know. Like, he is never this aggressive. Like, he can be, well, I guess we've never seen him aggressive at all in the sheets, as you will. So this is not normal.
Yeah.
And she tells him, like, get off of me, and tries to hit him, but he pins her arm to the bed. And he said before that he gets nightmares, And sometimes he will wake up not knowing where he is. So clearly he has no idea who she is right now or where he is right now. So she's in danger. And with her other hand, she reaches under the pillow and she grabs her dagger because girl is always ready. And then she goes and holds it to his throat. And it's so, all right, I'm not even going to try diving into this. We're going to wait until after we finish the scene to actually take this apart.
Yeah.
So after she holds it to his throat, his head kind of starts like getting lower and lower on her stomach and gets between her legs. And she is still threatening him. So she's still got the blade to his neck as he's like laying in between her legs, naked. She is naked. And he's between her legs, holding him at knife point. And she threatens him one more time, and it seems to catch his attention. And she tells him again, like, get off me. But her gift starts to pick up on his emotions. So she's feeling a lot of darkness and insatiable hunger. So, like, Castile is hungry, but does he need blood hungry? And he remains between her legs. She's still turned on. So, like, she's into it.
Right.
And as soon as she kind of puts two and two together of like, oh, maybe I like this, she drops her dagger. And she says, it was wrong, and I shouldn't feel the heat, the dampness gathering there. But it also felt right and so natural, even while none of this seemed natural. Woo!
Huge
And
dark romance.
So much. I personally have not gotten, this is the darkest dark romance besides like One Dark Window that I've gotten. So I haven't tiptoed into that too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel as though when that time comes, I'll feel a whole lot better about it because JLA writes things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it is it's a moment of like, oh, is it right? Is it wrong? I like it though. So does that mean it's right? Does that mean that's okay? So it's a very interesting kind of internal monologue she has with herself in this very heated moment. And so he grabs her hips and literally like brings her to his own mouth. Like, no teasing, no foreplay, just goes to town. And she finishes, and as he kind of looks up at her, his eyes are completely black, like no trace whatsoever of any of what he is. The doors burst open, and Kieran's there. And Castile turns his head towards him and growls at Kieran, to which Kieran says, shit. And he's like, Castile, I warned you this was going to happen. And just about as Castile is about to attack Kieran, Poppy puts her hand on him and uses her gift to try to bring him back. And it works. So she kind of dives in mentally into his emotions to try to find a glimmer of who he is and kind of helps to pull him back into himself. And his eyes return to normal, and he looks at her, says, honeydew. Before covering her up, he says, I'm sorry, and leaves the room. And that is where we're going to stop this recap. Yeah. So I want to make sure that we take a moment. That last chapter, hot or not? Hot. I mean, I say hot. I'm always going to say hot.
So I am a huge dark romance reader. I love it. I will say, if you have not read dark romance but are wanting to get into it, you are absolutely right. JLA captures the intro to dark romance perfectly. So yeah, it's very conflicting because it's like, yes, this chapter is so hot, but then we also know that like he's not in his right mind. So it's like, what is going on? The whole part with her with the dagger, I can picture that in my head, and I just think it would be the most badass like scene, like for him to be in such a vulnerable position, but he's going down on her, which is very empowering for a woman, I think, right? And so she's got that aspect as well as the knife. Like, not only are you serving me, I could kill you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that whole chapter could have its own dissertation on its own.
Oh, 100%. It absolutely could. And this is one thing that I know that this is one scene that we are absolutely bringing up when we eventually are able to get some romanticy experts on here and kind of talk through how this is kind of written and how it's kind of portrayed. Because yeah, like she tells him multiple times to like get off.
Yep.
I'm not joking. Get off. And he doesn't. So it's like, at first you're like, oh, is she just kind of playing into it because he's already doing it and she can't stop him? But no, she does have that internal monologue of being like, I know it's wrong, but I find it hot. So if I want it, okay. Like I just really loved how it was structured, where even as the reader, you feel very conflicted, but as Poppy kind of goes through it, and obviously not everybody feels that way after reading it, but me personally, after reading through that scene, I went from an, oh no, I don't know how much I like this, to, oh, that's really fucking hot.
She
real
did
quick.
She did. That is the way that it should be done, in my opinion, to like give someone the comfort of like, it's okay to be curious about the unknown, so to say. It's okay to push your boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
And 1,000 out of 10, million out of 10.
I love this. And we will have to wait until next week to find out what Castile's how that conversation's gonna be. Something that's a conversation that needs to be had.
He's out walking around butt naked out of the room now.
I don't think he was ever naked.
Oh, okay.
He was never naked. It was only I do like that he's just walking around naked though. No, I believe it stated that he's got like shorts on or something. Okay. Like, yeah. No, he's not just climbing into bed nude with her.
It would be fine if he was. I mean,
it would be fine, but also I don't think she would have liked that very much either. And another kind of topic I want to point on now that we're kind of wrapping everything up. So like, what are we thinking about this arrangement? And I know that we both know what's going to happen down the line as far as if it works out, if it doesn't, what happens to each of them. But as it stands right now, what do we think about this? Like, I think like pretending always works out for the both parties involved, right?
Yeah.
It totally always is like, no.
Yeah,
it goes back to what is it, Bridgerton?
Mm-hmm.
Like season 1 of Bridgerton. That's exactly what this is to me.
Absolutely.
Only a lot better, because season 2 of Bridgerton is highlight. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's kind of what I feel. I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna have the like hate to love you, love to hate you, back and forth.
Yeah.
Until hopefully they come together, and it's literally come together, and they're like, I love you, and it's smoochy. But as it stands right now, yeah, this is only gonna go one way. Like, it can only go one way, right?
It has to.
If it doesn't, JLA, we don't know where you are, but we can find you. We can.
If you're listening,
we know you guys on social. We know your social media. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and find out what's going on with that and how that continues to evolve. And before we wrap up, we have some favorites. So we are coming back to I've noticed that there are two like digital artists that really love From Blood and Ash. One is Alex Oxy, again, coming at us. We can pop it up here. Mm-hmm. The real hot Cass and Poppy art. Real hot, real good. Love it. And then the next artist being at MFT Fernandez. I believe we showcased them in a previous episode as well. Mm-hmm. And in this fan art, I just love that Castile is looking at Poppy.
Yeah.
It's not the two of them side by side, like looking like a portrait. It's literally like in action. He's looking at her, and it's just, I love it.
Look at him.
Yeah. Oh my God. And the last but certainly not the least, at Sammy Bell Arts.
Our very own.
One of our own BBC artists.
Ah!
She listened to our episodes, she heard our calls, and she has presented us with the most beautiful Kieran art. Here's Kieran. He's looking mighty fine. She even went as far as to give him shirtless for us because we just fucking love you, Sammy, so much for that. And so, all his glory. He is a beautiful specimen. And then we have Tawny as well. She did Tawny. We have our girl. So we've got Poppy's BFF, Tawny, as well. And she is looking gorgeous as ever.
So good.
So freaking good. Sammy, we
Thank
you so, so much for these gorgeous pieces of art. We love them so much. And, you know, everyone else, keep your eye out because maybe there will be more Sammy art in the future that we might just have to showcase. So we love and appreciate you. Thank you for the others for also letting us showcase your work. I love looking for this fan art, and I'm getting to find more and more of it as I dig. But some of the scenes coming up for the next book, and for even just the second half of this book, actually.
Yeah.
Some of the fan art for this is just chef's kiss beautiful.
Yeah, you're beautiful. Like a detective.
I try.
Yeah.
I try. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for the first half of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire.
Woo!
So, even like reading these books for the second time, even if it is only the second time, the amount of stuff that is connecting and making more sense for what's happening down the line is insane. The amount of puzzle pieces she just scatters is like, I always loved SJM for that. She was like the first long series writer that I kind of like read those books as an adult. This is like the biggest, from Blood and Ash is the biggest one that I've read so far.
Definitely.
And just the way they're able to formulate these stories is just insane to me. I cannot process how they do this. So there is just so much that's already happened, so much more left to come. And we've been super enjoying like feeling things out with the pod, getting our groove on. You could probably tell we're still getting out the little blips, all the kinks and bleeps. But we can't wait to see what happens next. We cannot wait to continue the series and just bring you all the more from Blood and Ash goodness that we can, and continuing on from that. So thank you all again so much for tuning in to another super long, wonderful episode of Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching. Woo!